Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's the night.
Tonight's the night.
How
Surprise.
surprise! How is everyone doing today? Welcome to After the Credits number 81. This feels like almost like a series or like a season finale or like the end of the chapter because I am basically caught up with Dexter.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, dude. I'm impressed. You went down a journey that not many people can say that they have completed in such a short amount of time. So you get big props for that. I would like to convey a message as well. My mom also said that she is very proud of you for finishing all of Dexter and getting it done by Resurrection's release.
Yes. I didn't think, and what was that? 2 months maybe, which isn't a bad time. I think for like 100 episodes, not bad. It's not a bad time for it.
Yeah.
But no, this is our big Dexter themed episode. If you're not a fan of Dexter, maybe this might not be the stream for you. I'm just preparing you in advance because we are going to be talking about my journey through season 8. I wrapped up season 8, and there's a lot to unpack there. I'm excited to talk about that with you. I finished New Bloods last night, and then I woke up and I was like, oh, I can watch current day Dexter, which is a weird feeling. So we're going to talk about Resurrections, and then I did the first episode of New Bloods, which
Original Sin.
Original Sins, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which was pretty fitting because it does kind of tie in a little tiny bit.
It does. There's a lot of Original Sin connections that I found, or a couple of fun ones. A couple things I don't think that you've gotten to yet, but when you see it show up in Original Sin, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to go down our little conversation. Maddie's in the chat. I'm a punk rock star. Yes, I am. That's a reference Taz will not understand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that a Superman reference?
I don't know. What do you think that's in reference to? Who do you think says it?
Supergirl?
Oh,
maybe.
Really? Okay.
Maybe. Yeah. Let's go that.
I think it's Stargirl. Supergirl. Stargirl says it. So yeah.
No, it was the Anti-Monitor.
Yeah. Grant Gustin shows up and says that, and it's like, oh shit, this is crazy. He said, very proud of you. You finished New Blood so quickly. Me too. Yeah, it was 2 days. It was 2 days. I even worked. I don't know how I did it. I worked. So I did like 3 or 4 on what was it? Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday, and then I worked like 9 hours yesterday, and like I had to be there 2 hours early, and I was like, okay, I can get 2 episodes out here, and then I got home and I watched like 5 more episodes, and I was like, I don't know how I did it, but I wanted to get finished for today.
It just shows if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything, even if it's getting through all of these episodes.
You know what? You'd be shocked how much free time you have when you're not like on your phone doing shit.
Yeah, or like how much time you can make to do things. Like, again, I get so much done when I'm like trapped by doing I'm doing cardio for an hour, right? Like I can watch an episode in that time.
Right. Yeah.
And it makes the time go by super quick. Or you got a few minutes while you're making your food, or you're sitting down there eating food, or, brushing your teeth in the morning. You can get like through 10, 15 minutes of an episode, that sort of thing.
No, for sure. No, it's going to be a fun little discussion. I mean, how was your week, Taz? What's been in the life of Taz over the last week?
It's been good. It's been busy, dude. I've been working a ton.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to see Resurrection until Sunday. Like it was that busy. Obviously I haven't seen Superman yet, so that'll again kind of show you how busy I've been. Like, I've seen a couple things. Again, I will reiterate this. I am not going to get upset if somebody has a question for you and wants to talk a spoilery thing. Like, I've seen some things I don't necessarily mind. It doesn't impact my viewing of the movie at all. I think it's more so about the journey rather than the spoiler itself, which is such a far cry from where I used to be. I used to be like, no, don't tell me anything. Like, I don't want to know. But like, by the time you get your butt in the seat and you actually watch the movie, I feel like all of that stuff kind of, just leaves and you just sit there and enjoy it. So it doesn't bother me too much. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been busy. But this is the week that we've been waiting for. This is the week that I've been waiting for, been preparing for since like I think I started my watch in February, I believe. Watching through the original show and New Blood, Original Sin, and really getting into the like kind of nitty gritty before they started really fully promoting the show. And I've said this on numerous episodes that Resurrection was my most anticipated show of the year, definitely most anticipated show of the summer, and it did not disappoint. And I'm so excited to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, it feels like Dexter has really been a part of the show the entire year.
For the most part.
Yeah, because like you went through it, and then like we went through you as well, but like through you we kept talking about
Dexter,
and then I went through Dexter, and then this isn't like, oh, it stops here. We are going to be talking about this for the next 7 to 8 weeks. Like this isn't
I don't think it's done until September.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's first week of September is when the final episode airs.
But you know what? That's so refreshing. Like, I know it's nothing comparatively to like, what we used to do with like CW shows and stuff. But it's so nice to be like, well, this is a staple for the next like 3 months. You know what I mean?
I mean,
it's
just like
exciting.
It's just like what they did with the final season of Superman and Lois. Drop 2 episodes, and then you've got 8 weeks worth of weekly episode drops. Yeah. And it is not like this is just a one-off thing. Like, there are going to be multiple seasons. They've already said that this is a multi-season plan. Yes. There's going to be a season 2 of Original Sin. Yes. There's most likely going to be this Trinity Killer spinoff. Yes. And they've even talked about potential spinoffs from some of these characters that we meet in Resurrection. So, and like that just gets the gears turning as well. And,
this might be our new like Arrowverse kind of like shared universe thing that we have.
100%. Dexterverse. Dude, this thing's going to be popping for like the next 10 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Like I saw this interview, I think I maybe sent it to you from like Michael C. Hall. And he's like, I would have never imagined it's a whole like little universe. And it's very like, honestly, like I can't think of like another universe that's kind of doing it the way that actor is, because like there's shared universes, yes, but there's never been a shared universe where like he's kind of connected to like all of them.
He's the central character. Yeah, he is the centerpiece of everything, whether it is Michael C. Hall playing Dexter or now the younger actor Patrick Gibson, I believe, playing the role.
But even then, he's still in it, right? Like he's doing.
Yeah, it's still Michael C. Hall as the inner monologue. So, I wonder how and if he will be tied into the Trinity prequel, because there's technically no reason for him to be there.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the one where maybe outside of maybe like a cameo at the start of him being like, you might be wondering how I got here, or something silly like that.
Yeah, maybe like a different angle of like
or Harrison or something.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Let me go through some of these comments. Tony, what is up, Tony? Glad to see you here. How's it going? Maddie said, how many episodes are there? Right now, there is 2 out, but in total, there is 10 episodes this season. And going forward, it's 10. It's going to be week by week. So we have at least 7 more weeks to be talking about it.
8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah. Including this week, it'd be...
Yeah, including this week. Yeah.
Maddie said, I keep forgetting that Original Sin got renewed because they made the strange choice of announcing it on April Fool's Day. That's funny.
Did. Yeah, that was a little weird. I remember when that happened. They announced it. I posted it on my story, and I was like, oh, shoot, it's April Fool's. Let me take it down really quick because I think I just got bamboozled. And then I saw all the big trades picking it up. And I was like, oh, well, I guess this is real.
Official. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Maddie said, can't wait for the multiverse crossover between young Dexter and old Dexter. I can see that happening, or like not multiversal, obviously, but like I could see an episode like a Mindscape kind of episode or something where they're both like
in the same. Well, I mean, you kind of got that in Resurrection. You got to see Kid Dexter, who is the actor that plays Kid Dexter in Original Sin.
Yeah,
was in the first episode of Resurrection. So
right.
yeah, there's already been some crossover.
It'd be very easy
regard.
too, actually. Like just have young Dexter be the dark passenger for that week's episode. Like his younger self is haunting him for
right.
For the week of
like a character
happen.
Right, like a character comes back like, oh, I've got some ideas. Got some ideas.
No. We're gonna get I'm so excited now though that I get to kind of like we kind of get to freely
we get to speak freely, yeah.
Freely talk now. It's gonna be I feel like I've unlocked all these toolboxes. I stayed up until about 3:00 in the morning last night because I was done. So I was like, why can't I watch all this stuff? All these interviews and clips. I officially watched the trailer for this new season, which I had seen. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go watch like the blind way reaction to it. I was like, oh, Taz made one, so I'm gonna go watch Taz's reaction to it, and it's like, so I kind of went down a rabbit hole, and then so I'm definitely in my Dexter era right now because all my TikToks.
If you want more Dexter stuff,
By the way, Taz sends me Dexter shit 24/7.
I do.
A couple times a day.
I do.
A new meme.
I do.
Like, oh, Dexter stuff. I love it.
So something that I don't want to talk about yet tonight because I haven't seen this because I'm saving it for my video to watch.
Okay.
But there's a This Season on Dexter Resurrection trailer. That's cool.
I've seen it.
There is you have seen it. There's also there's what they did for Original Sin, which actually you might want to watch. They did like a little after show where the actress who played the podcaster from New Blood interviews the cast. So the guest for the first episode is David Zayas, who plays Batista. So there's a 30-minute interview with him, and then they just dropped a little behind the scenes video too for the first episode. So more Dexter stuff to watch while we wait for the next episode.
That's always my favorite part about like finishing like a long show is I get to go back into the archives and watch all the bloopers and all the interviews and all the TikToks and all the fun little things.
What I would give to like see what the internet was saying about the season 8 finale when it first dropped, what the internet was saying about the New Blood finale when it first dropped, because when both of these things came out, we did not know that there was going to be more. There was like a decade gap in between season 8 and New Blood. And I don't think that they announced Resurrection for at least a few years after New Blood. Because the whole reason I got into watching Dexter in the first place, like, again, after years of my mom telling me to watch this show because it was so great, but also simultaneously telling me that it had such a horrible ending, that I didn't kind of get the itch to watch it until Original Sin started getting promoted and things like that. And I was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. I was like, oh, like maybe I'll just watch this and see if I kind of like the universe. Which would have been a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Which would have been a horrible idea.
I'm already kind of glad I didn't do that.
Yeah. You did it the right way. I did it the right way. As I watch everything in release order. Don't do anything fancy. So, big. Obviously, before we get into anything, big spoiler warning. If you guys haven't seen anything Dexter, we're going to literally be talking about everything. Everything is on the table. So if you haven't seen it yet, if you care about spoilers, hop out now. But if you want to hear things like out of context and see if it piques your interest, stick around.
Yes. So let's just dive into original Dexter. So let's just blanket statement spoilers for the first 8 seasons of Dexter. But specifically this week, I watched season 8 of Dexter. Season 8. Now, seasons like this are always very interesting to me because similar to stuff like Game of Thrones, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Walking Dead, things where people have told me, hey, I hate this ending, or like they ruined the show and like this final season ruined the whole thing. And most of the time, I kind of sit there waiting for it to get bad. I'm like, oh wait, why is it bad? And it's not necessarily that people are wrong, but like when I have that expectation of like this is one of the worst things I've ever seen, my bar is so low, and then it's like, oh, okay, like that's it. And also like I joke about this a lot, but like we've seen so many like bad CW shows and bad CW seasons that like I think my garner for bad television is so low. Like I think you have to be like really really bad for me to be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is like I sat through most of Riverdale. We trudged through like, the epic highs and lows of all of these through the epic highs and lows of all the CW shows, all of the, different crazy nonsense. We got through the COVID era of shows. I've gone back and I watched, weird seasons of TV back during like the first wave of writer strikes, back when like Prison Break was airing, and like they had a really weird third season, which was, a shorter season. Certain characters were missing, that sort of thing. So, I've gone through and have experienced my fair share of like quote unquote bad television. And I'm going to say this right now. I don't think that there is a single bad season of Dexter. Like even in the back half of the show where people think that it kind of falls off with seasons 5 through 8. I don't think that there is a bad season. Like there's no
unwatchable season. There's not. There's no Arrow season 4 of Dexter.
Yeah. It's like there's nothing that I would skip. Like maybe season 6. But you can't. There's elements of season 6 that you literally cannot skip.
And there's good stuff in there, yeah. And like even like I kind of feel similarly to like Supernatural, where it's like, and I know I've seen that show, but like even when Supernatural is bad, it's still so much fun to watch because the cast and the setting and like the show template is so much fun. It's like, this sucks, but these casts are still killing it. And I think season 6 is that, where it's like, I wouldn't unwatch season 6, I guess, is where I would go. And, I think it probably also helps that, like, Dexter came out at a time where TV was a lot different, right? Like, it wasn't... There just wasn't a lot of TV when that came out, or at least TV to that level.
TV was different. And it reminds me of a better era of TV. In a lot of ways, like looking at some of these classic shows, like again, it aired in the same time as like Prison Break, as Breaking Bad, as like all of these kind of classics and very well received, very well
Breaking
thought of
Bad, Lost,
pieces
Prison
of
Break, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Exactly, like that's a golden era of TV for a lot of people. And again, this came out, For both of us, like we could not have watched the show when it was airing. We were definitely, not in the age demographic.
School,
middle school, I was like, what, 5 years old when the show started, 2005? Like, come on, like I could not watch Dexter. I was, but going back and seeing it now, it really makes you appreciate the care and attention to detail that was taken with a show like this. Back in the day, even though again it's not that long ago, but this is 20 years ago. This is 20 years ago, which is insane.
It's still going and arguably more popular than it's ever been.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't say it's more popular, but I feel like it's
I
more
would
successful.
I would say it's more wider, not necessarily wider known, but like I would argue more popular. Yeah, because of I think the TikTok era, as much of like a stigma that has around it, I think it really does play into
it's a big TikTok show.
Exactly. Like neither one of us would be watching it without the edits. Like you told me that you saw like all of these out of context edits of like random stuff from throughout the show's run, and you're like, what is this?
Some of the biggest moments in the show, or like the funniest moments, I could be like, I've seen that. I've seen that.
Exactly.
Like, I think it was the whole, like, I did see the Deb finding out about Dexter thing years before I even started the show. And I do remember, like, that scene sticking out in my head of, like, okay, I know it's happening. I know it's going to happen eventually. How do we get there? How do we get this point? And same with the, like, surprise moment as well. It's like, okay, Stokes finds out. Like this, and, like, he doesn't find out there, which is, like, the thing that kind of messed up my brain. It's like, oh, he didn't find out there. He almost did, but he technically didn't. And it's like, how do we get there? And so many of these iconic memes and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it is so interesting to kind of see. And again, like right now, it's like it's it's this huge like multi thing, and it's different than what it was before, and we'll talk about that if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. But no, let's talk about season 8. Let's dive into season 8. I was worried going in. I had heard all these terrible things. I really liked season 8.
Nice.
To a point. To a point.
Okay. There's a but. There's always a but.
I liked most of season 8. There is a moment though throughout the show. I'm not exactly sure when. I'd have to go and look at the episodes again and be like, when exactly did it happen? There's kind of a switch at some point where it goes from this really well paced, this really great season about looking upon the past and Dexter, re-examining who he is and what his relationships are and why does he do what he does, and does he have to do what he do? And I was sitting here being like, what a fantastic final send off to this character. To the point I ended up being like, I'm almost scared to get more because this felt like such a finalized version of the character. Like there's that moment in the second to last episode where he's like, I don't have to kill. I can let them take care of it. I have grown so much that I don't have to do this anymore. And I was like, stop it here. Stop the episode right
stop
now.
The press. Dexter's learned his lesson.
This is like unironically, if they had gone this direction, I wouldn't want any more. If he turns him in, Debs takes this guy in.
Yeah. She if it had the good ending.
Praised. Yeah, she gets praised. He goes off with this kid and this new girl. Everyone's happy. It's a happy ending. I wouldn't want any more. I'd be like, that's a pretty amazing ending for the show. Yeah. He has literally evolved.
But you can't give the serial killer the happy ending, can you?
I'd prefer it to what they ultimately did in the final episodes, which is I guess we can jump to the very end.
Yeah.
Nothing? Which really confused me.
They just threw a bunch of random stuff at you and were like, oh shoot, okay, we gotta wrap this up. It's and they made the worst decision, I think, which they kind of not backtrack but make up for it in New Blood in a way. But I think that, which is killing Deb, I think that is the biggest mistake that the show made.
Interesting.
I really think that is the biggest mistake that the show made. And
here's how I read it. How I read it. I'm actually okay with her dying. I'm okay with her dying if it was done better, right? I think Dexter, I think what they did here wasn't even that bad. Dexter accidentally getting Deb killed, which forces him to realize, oh, I hurt everyone I touched and sacrifice himself. That's not terrible.
Yeah,
that's not a bad
remove
ending.
Himself from the scenario. Yeah,
yes,
it's just how it happened. They just made stupid choices. Yes. They made stupid decisions. They didn't take the precautions that they should have, and they let this guy that for all intents and purposes, yeah, he was a big threat, but you're gonna literally get thwarted by a guy that goes by the name of the brain surgeon.
Yeah, and that's something I want to go into too, because I have my grievances with that.
Make your own kind of music, man.
And it's interesting. It's really interesting, and again, there's even going into the final episode, it's how are they going to mess this up? I feel like everything's kind of lining up pretty well, and it is they just kind of gave up.
And then just when it happens, it's just all right, let's wrap this thing up now.
Do we know why it ended? Were they did they want to be done, or was it a studio thing?
Actually, so
because that would make sense if the studio was fucking them over, and they're like, well, we're going to end your show. I could see them being like, all right, we're just going to stop. We're just not going to give a shit. You know what I mean?
So, okay. Dexter's original series finale in season 8 was intended to be the conclusion of the show, but it was met with strong fan backlash, obviously, due to its perceived poor quality and unsatisfying ending. Why is it controversial? Yes, but why was it?
Yeah.
Why did it end? That's such an interesting question, and I think that's more so a question for anybody who was around watching the show at that time.
Yeah, I'd be
Did
so
they
curious.
end because like the cast was ready to move on, or was it
Which would be
not doing
valid.
well, or were the ratings lower and they were like,
Right.
okay, let's just go out on our own terms before we get canceled? Like
Right.
what was the reasoning? But and again, I know that there's, showrunner swaps and changes and things like that.
Maddie said, I remember something about a season 8 plan. The original plan was way different before the original showrunner left around season 5, I think.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense, though,
Yeah.
to an extent. Like, especially in that era, you typically, not at first, but like I remember after Lost, or like around the time, like past season 3 of Lost, there was this kind of plan of like, okay, you have to plan out your run to like tell us how long you want your show to be, and we'll plan it out and we'll write it out. That's not really how things are done nowadays, or at least not to that extent.
No,
but,
it's pretty much like if it's popular, you can keep going. If it's not popular, wrap it up.
Right. So like I could see it being like, well, we said it's the final season, so it's the final season, and maybe they just wrote the season as normal, because it doesn't. It's weird because it does feel like a final season up until the end.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could have done season 9, but then the finale was. Then they were told like, it's almost like they weren't told until maybe the last 2 or 3 episodes that this was the final season, and then they had to rush to wrap things up.
But it's interesting though, because I think the main plot does feel very final season-ish, right? Like I think
it does.
Bringing in this like new like mother figure,
the doctor,
and having her like be able to kind of like circle back to everything in the first season, and literally having your main villain be like another brother, this like almost long lost brother for Dexter, is like feels very final season-ish, and we can talk about that in a second, because I'm very frustrated with that whole thing went down. But yeah, and like it's so silly to me, because like I told you like yesterday, I was like, I put on some music at work. I was like, okay, I'm just going to think about season 8 and how I feel about it. And as I'm working, I'm getting so pissed, because it's like, they didn't do anything. Like, not even just for Dexter and Deb, like that's frustrating enough. Any of the other characters, like Angel doesn't really get a send off. Masuka, Quinn, like they're all just kind of left there. They're kind of just.
Yeah, you're right. Is like in the end of that final episode, they're just like, all right, now they're done. Like it's just now it's just Dexter and Deb, and that's it. Which again is the way that I guess it should end.
It's the core,
but you would like some finalization to everything else. And like, think about how in such a weird way Dexter left everything, right? Like he goes into the police department hot because brain surgeon shot Deb.
Yeah.
And he literally just he murders the dude, like straight up. He just murders the dude.
Ever been.
Murders the dude. Sloppy kind of, but still methodical in the way that he gets around it, right? And also this was the moment that I had been waiting for you to get to, because that is the moment that redeemed Quinn, sitting in the corner. It was obviously self-defense.
Yeah.
Like, I think that makes Quinn kind of bearable. Like, he was on Dexter's side at the end.
God damn it. I kind of hated them for making me like Quinn. And like, here's the thing. It wasn't hard, right? Like, it wasn't like, oh, they're finally doing things, to redeem him as a character. It's like, no, they just stopped making him an asshole, right? That's all they did. It wasn't that he was good in season 8. It's just like he was not
like they made him a decent person.
Yeah, they just stopped writing him like shit. Like that's all they did, and instantly I'm like, oh, I like him because of just like because how good the writers are, and like they're very, very good at making characters likable even if they're not likable. So like I was very surprised with Quinn. I don't know if I want to say that. I don't know if I want to spoil, but I did search something up today, and I was like, what's this actor doing? And I was like, oh, I know what he's doing. So that's going to be interesting. But no, like Quinn is like, honestly, in one of the more interesting spots, like post the show. Like I was thinking about that today or yesterday. I was like, I'd kind of love if they made Quinn a villain going forward, right?
Ooh.
Because like
he kind of was for a minute when he was working with
he was
what's his name, the private investigator.
I guess it doesn't really work now.
Yeah,
because
because again, they ended things
Blood...
off. Well, because they ended things off on good terms. Like, I would actually be so interested. I know this is jumping way far ahead.
Yeah.
But I'd be so interested if Quinn's role in Resurrection is he has to choose a side. Does he stick on Dexter's side?
Mm-hmm.
Or does he go with Batista? Because his two friends are now at odds.
Yeah.
Quinn defended Dexter at the end of season 8, but now Batista is hunting him.
That's his long,
and again,
friend.
Yeah. But again, we'll get to that later on. But that brings up a very interesting question, and I think we'll get an answer to that this season, hopefully.
Because I guess I kind of assumed after New Blood that Dexter was going to be this known criminal. That's just kind of what I thought. I was like, okay, the whole season he's finally outed. The world knows, and he's kind of on the run. Mm-hmm. And I can understand why, and I know this is getting to that stuff, but my whole thing was okay, that's interesting because now he blames Dexter for Deb, right? This all kind of came down to him. I was like, okay, maybe after Deb dies, he goes back on the bender. He loses everything because I think his redemption is always kind of tied to Deb. He got there because Deb started hanging out with him again. So if she dies the way she did and her body disappeared, she probably hates Dexter and is a depressed mess. So I was like, okay, he quits the force, he goes off on his own, and then when he finds out about Dexter, he's like, oh, you motherfucker, comes
but the other side of that though too is maybe he's like, okay, well now I actually have to honor Deb's memory, be the man that she thought I could be, get his stuff together, and I don't know, maybe we see Sergeant Quinn or Lieutenant Joey Quinn. Lieutenant Joey Quinn working under Captain Batista now.
I did think it was really funny. This is going into the new stuff. Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen it, I did think it was hilarious that Dexter still thinks that he's a detective. After 10 years, he's like, yeah, he's still doing that.
This is Detective Quinn from Miami Metro.
You quit 8 years ago. What the hell are you talking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For all he knows, Quinn is dead, right? He could be dead and he no, you know what I mean?
Well, it doesn't. Yeah. Well, here's the thing: it doesn't matter. He just has to make it sound official,
right?
Because it's not like Batista.
He didn't be like Quinn. Hello,
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So no, but no. Season 8.
Interesting tie. Before you say that, one interesting tie. I don't know if you noticed this. So, obviously, Dexter has to pull the plug on Deb because she's, for all intents and purposes, gone.
Brain dead. Yeah.
Which is a very interesting tie back to, remember the records lady from the earlier seasons that liked the key lime pie and everything like that, and her whole thing was and so it ties perfectly back to having to make that hard decision.
But here's the difference. Here's the difference, though. Deb does kind of technically, unfortunately, fit the code, right? She is a killer, technically.
Yeah, kinda. Kinda. Hey, Brian got what he wanted in the end.
Yeah, you're right. And again, I don't hate that. I do think there is something kind of poetic about Dexter ultimately having to kill the one he loves the most.
Yeah.
I do think that
Deb is the only person it at that point, outside of obviously Harrison and Hannah. Deb is the only other person in his life that he cares about to that extent. And I still think, in a weird way, more than any, I think Dexter still, if he had to choose between anybody in his life, it was always Deb.
It was, even before Harrison, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only person that he truly felt a real connection to.
Mm-hmm.
But which is why New Blood and now Resurrection is so interesting, because you're seeing that connection develop with Harrison, and this connection that he's been trying to find in all of these killers in the past, and that interesting idea of Harry guided Dexter originally, which now you're seeing in Original Sin. which you saw throughout all the flashbacks of the original show. And now it's Dexter's turn to be that guiding light for Harrison.
And like, again, like I would be so, again, that ending with him having to kill Deb, it's good. I just hate the way they ended up going about it, because I feel so, like, I wasn't even sad when it's happening. I was like, okay, is she really dead? Like, I felt like she was just trying to like wake up any second. I was like, okay. And the way she was just like, they kind of, I know it came first, obviously, but like it has the like Arrow season 4 thing with like Laurel, where it's like, she's good, she's all right. Oh no, she's not.
Yes, you're right.
Trope. That's such a bad trope.
Wow,
I hate that trope so much.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't really even think about that, but yeah, they really, it's kind of the same thing.
She's okay. Oh no, she's not. And off screen too, like she's like, "We're sorry." She's gone.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
She was good.
Yeah, again, it was such a quick, weird thing.
Yeah.
Like it felt somewhat out of place. It really kind of did feel out of place at that point. Again, like I'm content with it. It had to happen for the show to then go in the direction that it did. Or alternatively, because they ended up making that choice, they obviously couldn't backtrack it. Like, there's no supernatural stuff. Like, they can't say, oh, like, you know, in the crash, like, you know, she ended up coming back to life, like, randomly, or, like, no, none of that, none of that stuff. Like,
or alien. I did hear
they set up their kill room and had to, you know, work with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, I do think you kind of revealed to me that Deb does die in a way, because I was thinking, like, while I was watching, I was like, okay, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? like what is the worst possible way the show can end? And my brain went to Deb kills Hannah, and then he gets so mad that he kills Deb out of anger and fury. Like, to me, because like I've heard like the worst possible things about the show ending, right? I've heard for like 10 years of like, this is the worst TV ending of all time. So I was like, okay, that's the worst. So like, let's put up the worst. So anything else that's not that is automatically going to be better.
Automatically better, yeah.
And I was like, I kept coming, like each scenario I was like, Deb dies. But that's the one. I think
it's like that was the one constant.
Yes, and I was thinking about that.
In every version of the universe.
And yes, it's definitely that like Iron Man, Doctor Strange moment. But I was like, no, she can't die, because I've seen thumbnails of her in New Blood, so obviously she makes it to New Blood. And then something you said, and I had my own little Dexter moment. Where you're like, well, yeah, Harry's not in season 8, but there's a reason for that. I was like, she's the Dark Passenger in New Blood instead of Harry. I turned into Dexter, being like,
you're like, the gears
all the
turned.
dots.
Yeah,
I was like, God damn it! I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But when we get to New Blood, I really enjoyed Dark Passenger Deb. In a lot of ways, I think that might be my favorite version of the character.
Favorite version of Deb?
Yeah. I think she was actually really good in New Blood.
Okay, we'll get to that.
I really liked her in New Blood.
But no, like, let's talk about like the main villain of season 8 as well, because like, again, like I think they kind of put all the eggs in their baskets with the therapist. I forget her name, but like the therapist.
Vogel.
Yeah. Like I was really into that stuff. I think their connection, I think her being the one to bring like Dexter and Deb back together, that all stuff was really good. Yeah. And I think they kind of forgot. They're like, oh wait, she's not the villain, right?
Yeah.
Like, to the point I thought she was going to. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, she's so fascinated with serial killers because she is a serial killer, and maybe ultimately that would have been better if.
Well, I mean, they kind of teased. They kind of teased that slightly, or they wanted you to think that she was actually the brain surgeon originally. But it was my biggest thing with what's his name, Saxon's reveal, right? Is that he was introduced as like a random side character originally. Yeah. Like, I didn't really pick up on that. Like, and to me, it's like when they revealed it, I was like, is that even the same guy? Like, I don't even. Yeah, it was.
It looked like a He looked like Ryan Gosling's like twin little brother.
Just
you know
like
what
a
I
random,
mean?
just like a random stand-in actor, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this guy's actually the big bad for the season. He's gonna
For the
kill
final season,
right, and he's gonna kill all your favorite characters."
And I really like him in concept, right? Because the concept is fucking amazing. I love this this anti-Dexter, right? Like both born from the same place, but one is without the code and one is without the all the good things that make what Dexter does so important.
He's basically like so if he would have, this is what would have happened if he would have let Brian live at the end of season 1.
Yes, and it's such a good parallel to that first season, being like
100%.
This other brother, this long lost brother that Dexter didn't know he had, born from blood, and he only exists because she put all of her eggs in the basket of Dexter, and him being like, no, you turn me into him. Like that stuff was so good. And I think if you had just a couple more, I really think if you could add 3 more episodes to season 8.
Oh, interesting.
Season 8's kind of a banger. I think it really is. If you could just it's those final 3 episodes that once she dies, I think once she's murdered, and I think it's in the last couple, it's kind of
it's just downhill slide. Yeah. Well, I remember being very shocked, and I was very happy with the kid Zach. I thought he was really, I thought he was really good.
Could have been a villain too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I just kind of as a protege to Dexter. I thought that was really fun, and I thought the hotel scene, right, where he comes in and Deb's there, and Deb's like, who are you? And then Zach's like, who are you? He's like, serial killer convention. I don't care what's going on. I don't want to know what's going on. I'm out. Peace.
And that death felt so random and weird. And...
It did, but also it was very chilling though. The music and the way that his method of killing people was very it felt more like a book character, which makes sense. He felt kind of the furthest that they were willing to go down the I wouldn't say supernatural side, but super hyper realistic or above believable kind of way, right? Is this guy that lobotomizes people, takes out their brain, and that's it's a little wacky and zany for what the show does. Also, season 8 gives you everybody's favorite reaction meme to use of Mr. I have no emotions, and then it's Dexter taking the thing out of the soup out, and he's like,
I've seen that. Yeah. No, it's season 8's interesting, and it ended up being pretty low for me, and again that sucked because it was so close to being in my top 5. I was if this again, I think if they nailed the landing, it would be my number 5 outside of the the top 4 that I had, the first 4 seasons.
Okay, interesting.
So, and I think maybe next week we can do a ranking. I think that'd be fun to do next week.
Or do we want to wait and save the ranking until after Resurrection's done?
Maybe. I'm afraid I'll forget. I'm afraid I'll forget.
Okay, well here we can do a pre-resurrection and a post-resurrection ranking, or just bring back up our lists and then see where we would slot Resurrection.
Yeah. No, season 8, weird ending, weird whatever. And then what is it? 10 years later, 13, 12 years later, whatever.
Because what is it? Ended in 2013, and then New Blood came out in 2022.
22. Because it's been 3 years. I know that. It's been 3 years since the last thing that they've done. So I think it's been... it was
November 2021.
Yes, okay.
Okay, yeah,
and
so
it ran through
it aired...
Yeah,
so it aired in 2021, ended in 2022, which is why Resurrection takes place in 2022.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do they have COVID?
Well, no, I mean, they skip. I guess they just skipped it.
Honestly, though... I would never want that, obviously, but I would be curious about what does Dexter do with COVID? That's kind of
he was just chilling in Iron Lake.
That's true.
Yeah.
Would it be easier for him in COVID, do you think?
I mean, he doesn't interact with anybody, and he can hang out with all his dark passengers.
You know, it would be harder because everyone would be locked up in like in their houses. So like he would have to break it. I mean, no one's breaking any laws, I guess, right? So
yeah. I mean, if they're actually listening,
well, you're right. He kills anyone that like breaks quarantine, that like breaks the. It's like you're supposed to be in your homes.
You're out here infecting the population. I'm just taking out the trash.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, New Bloods. Dexter's New Bloods. Again, still very fresh. I finished it last night. What did you think of New Bloods? Because you were kind of campaigning for the series. You were like, really a fan of this one.
Yeah, I ended up enjoying it. I feel like a lot more than most people did. I really liked the change and the upgrade in quality. Not that the original show was low quality by any means, but I think that you could definitely tell, okay, cinematic aspect ratio, nice wider shots. They, took a little bit more of a stylized approach. The way that they, interwove music into the show very, very well. I think the title cards were very artsy. I liked the way that they kind of did the little quick flashes of what to expect in the episode right at the beginning to kind of make it very, like, not necessarily high stakes, but like high octane, high action, keep you guessing. And I really liked kind of the murder mystery aspect of it. And I feel like that was something that they hadn't really done a ton of. Like, we had like questions of who the killer was at first and a lot of things, but like, I mean, even think back to season 4, like we saw Trinity immediately, right? Like there was no question who the killer was. Season 8 was the last time that we had kind of a question of who the killer was, but they revealed that pretty quickly too. In New Blood, they reveal it about halfway through, but we had a masked villain for a little bit, and like that felt very Arrowverse to me in a lot of ways. And the masked villain ended up being Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
Like, what a surprise.
Yeah.
I think there were some really good elements to this show. I think the idea of Dexter not killing anybody for a decade.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I think him feeling just very responsible for everything that happened and him trying to just remove himself from the scenario, start a new life, have a new identity, Jim Lindsay, which is a reference to Jeff Lindsay, the writer of the books, which I thought was very cool as well. And yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's different. It's not the original show. Iron Lake is certainly not Miami.
Yeah.
But I learned to actually really enjoy these characters. And I think probably most people's biggest problem with New Blood immediately gets fixed in Resurrection. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, I liked New Blood. I liked it.
Okay.
I think it's probably like middle of the road Dexter for me, where I think it's better than a lot of those last couple seasons. I think it improves upon a lot of what kind of, some of the little things that were bothering me of those. I don't think it touches any of the peak of Dexter, those first 4 seasons for sure. I wonder if it's more enjoyable for people who have a little bit of a break as well, because like
I don't know. I watched it immediately.
Okay. Because like I really liked it, but it did take me a couple episodes to be like, this is different, this is different, this is different, this is different. Like there is that like, well, where's this character in this and this, and there is something about like, just plain simple, and this goes for this new one too. It isn't the original show. It is a different show. Their dynamics and their templates and very different. And I do think there's a part of me that just wants it to be that a little bit, because like, I guess I don't really feel that closure of that original show, and hopefully Resurrection will give me some of that. Not seemingly most of the cast is returning in some capacity, it seems. So, like, hopefully that will give me that. I could be like, okay, I can put that away for a little bit. But it took me a little bit. But no, like, I really ended up enjoying, not everything. There's some things I wasn't a huge fan of, but I do agree with you. I think one of the best things they've done for Dexter in a little bit now is like taking away his killing for a very long time and pressing that reset button on Dexter and having him to relearn all over again. And I thought it was very fascinating really there's only like one main kill this season. Like there's a couple of these other, like what, there's a total of like maybe 3-4 kills this season.
Yeah.
And most of it is surrounded by the one. I really love that he's so out of practice. He's so shit at doing it that his first kill back, he fucks it up. He fucks it up, and
he messes it up. He
that
like
one gets him caught, and I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked that too. I think again it presented a new challenge for Dexter that we had never seen him tackle before.
Agreed.
Yeah, I did like that. It presented a new obstacle for him to tackle, plus obviously all of the baggage from his past life. You have Harrison, who aged 20 years and 10 years, show up on his doorstep. Yeah. And you start getting the feeling that there's a little bit more, a little bit more to the father-son connection, as far as like, has Harrison inherited this dark passenger?
Yeah.
And speaking of obviously the dark passenger, you've got Deb there. And again, I really do like Deb as kind of his conscience this season. And I think we didn't really go too in depth with it in a lot of our discussions, but like, the concept of Dexter's dark passenger is so interesting on the show. Obviously, it's very different from what they did in the books, from what I understand. Again, in the books, the dark passenger is legitimately like a magical entity that makes him
an alien, right?
Yeah, or like some sort of like ancient spirit, basically, that is making him kill. Again, I want to really go into like the big differences between the show and the book. So that's a thread that I have saved that we'll save for a stream at a later date. But I really think that it's interesting to see these dark passengers as Dexter's interpretation of what these characters would say if they were still there, right? And he's literally, he's arguing with himself.
Yes.
Is the big thing, right? Is you have Deb there being like, dude, what the heck are you doing? You spent all this time trying to reinvent yourself, saying you would be better.
Yeah.
But what are you doing? You're falling right back into old habits. You're messed up. You are going to mess your son up. And like the moment where she's like screaming at him, like, you're an effing serial killer. Like that is good stuff.
The stuff, what is it, episode 3, when she's like climbs on him and her hands are in his mouth. That's like, what show have we stepped into? Well, this is some like
right. That's the supernatural, right? And they kind of little sprinkles of the supernatural stuff without actually giving us the supernatural stuff.
Yeah,
which I think is really cool.
I definitely really enjoyed her this season. I have one drawback of it a little bit, but like I do think like, just like as an actress, that has to be fun, because I think it's a bit different than Harry, because Harry, really, we've only ever seen Harry outside of Original Sin, I assume. But the only time we really get to see Harry is from the POV of Dexter, right? It's always like,
because we don't really know who Harry is.
Yes, so like really the Harry we know has always just been Dexter's, thought of what Harry is.
Which is why Original Sin Harry is so interesting.
And then Deb, we know Deb. We spent 8 seasons with her. We know her so well. So it's so interesting to be like, oh, this is not Deborah. This is this version of Deborah that Dexter has, cured up over this course of 10 years of being alone and isolated and tortured because he's not doing what makes him happiest. And it's this manifesting of the darkest parts of Dexter's subconscious, this part of him that hates Dexter. And I think that associates is very interesting, because he assumes that Deb would hate him for having to do what he did to Deb. Like, I think that is very fascinating.
Yeah.
My only drawback at all is where I saw a thing where she said that was probably the last time she's ever going to play the character of Deborah. And I kind of don't like that being my final.
I don't believe it.
If she comes back in this show, then I'm like, okay.
Again, Dokes came back.
Yeah.
I think Deb can come back.
She can. But also I think Deborah did a lot more than some of these other characters, right? Like, she did 9 seasons of the spinoff. I can honestly totally understand her being like, I've had enough. Like that's a lot for me, and I'm moving on to other things. So like I can understand if she's done. So I guess my feelings on that would depend on if she comes back again as like normal Dexter, normal Deborah, because because I feel like that will kind of be my association of like angry, screaming, I hate you kind of Dexter that's in his mind.
Yeah.
So
well, and also it is very interesting. Again, I'm jumping way far ahead.
Yeah.
But there were quite a few people at that Resurrection premiere that aren't in the show, or at least that we don't know of.
We don't know her in the show.
Yeah.
Was she there?
She was not there.
Interesting.
She was not there. Masuka was not there.
Is he confirmed to come back? No?
No, but there was he put out an Instagram post. Like, he said something like, Masuka Resurrection or something. Like,
but here's the thing, and like later I want to ask you who's like your dream people to come back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they also need to pace themselves. They have said this is going to be a very long run.
Yeah.
They don't want to blow all of their load in the first season. So like, pace themselves. So I think
100%. I think I would not be upset if Deb doesn't come back this season, but I think she is, no pun intended, on the table to come back at any point.
Yeah. No, like I would like to like, that also gives her time to change her mind, right? Like I think when these kind of stuff is so fresh, it's like, okay, I'm not right now, but like you're 5 seasons in, you're like, you know what, they seem to be having fun.
Whatever. Like, I'll come see my old friends again. Like I think
the like actual series finale of Dexter, when it's like done for real this time.
I don't think it's ever gonna be done, dude.
At this point, though, honestly,
here's my thing. After Resurrection's over, it's gonna be the Harrison show. Like I'm calling it right now.
Which I would actually kind of be okay with. Okay, so I was watching the like Blind Wave, New Blood like finale, and they talked about, and this was before we knew about any of these other shows that were happening, and their pitch was like, we'll do a new season, but it's Harrison and it's the Harrison show, but Dexter is still there as
Dexter's
the
Dark Passenger. Yes,
and I was like,
I would love that.
I might actually fuck with that even more than like what we're doing right now. Like
it's an interesting concept. It is a very interesting concept, and again, we could still eventually get there.
Could, yeah.
We could still eventually get there.
50-year-old, just like 60-year-old. Michael C. Hall.
Yeah, no, it's like Harrison's just got like a like it's like all the Force ghosts. Like Resurrection ends. It's like Resurrection season 10. Harrison's just like sitting there. He's got his like a new family or something like that. And then you just see like Dark Passenger Dexter and Harry and Deb, like they're all like standing there and they're like nodding in approval. Like, yep, that's the end of the series. That's the end of the series. And then Harry turns to Dexter. What's the plan here, Dexter?
Oh God, yeah, no. New Blood. What did I like? What did I not like? But yeah, like I loved the villain. I thought like he was easily my favorite villain since like probably the Trinity Killer. Probably.
Really?
I think so. I'm trying to think. I'm not missing anybody because I thought 5 was fine. The like the cult, the like little, he was fine.
Yeah.
Season 6 I didn't like.
Yeah.
Season 7, I guess I liked, but he wasn't really a villain in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then season 8, I thought he was easily my favorite.
Yeah. I think that's a valid point. I think that's valid.
I was thinking about it. I was like, is Clancy Brown the character that has appeared in the most shows I've covered on the show?
Quite possibly.
So, because he's in Gen V. He's in The Penguin. He's in this. He's in a bunch of probably some other things I'm not even thinking of right now.
He's in Detroit Become Human.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. He's that actor, but whenever he pops up in anything, you're like, well, he's gonna kill this show. Yeah. Like he's one of those most universal like he keeps playing the same characters, but I'm never like, oh, he's doing this from this show. It's like no, he invites you into the role so much. Let me answer a couple of these questions, and then we can get back to all that stuff. Maddie said it's nowhere near as bad as people say. I'd agree with that. I didn't really get like. I think I think it's kind of just like it's kind of there for me. Where I think it's like it's really solid. it didn't save the show, but it also didn't ruin the show either. And like, people said they really hated the ending, and I kind of, and we'll get there because I do feel like we had to talk about the way it ends. But like, I think the ending worked for the most part for me, but I think it works better as the series finale and not launching off point. Like, I guess
I was gonna say, does it only work because we know that there's more to come afterwards?
I don't love it.
Or would we have had a different opinion if we were like, okay, this is it?
Okay, let's talk about it then. Because I like him killing Logan was, I think, the final straw for me supporting Dexter, right? Because I think for the most part, and there's been a couple of things that have happened throughout the show where I'm like, Dexter, don't do that, right?
Yeah, that was the first time I think he's really killed a legitimately innocent person.
Yes, like there was the guy at like the gas station in season 6, but like he looked kind of shady and stuff like that.
He looked kind of shady. Like, like, no, you're right. He could justify.
He was also grieving, and I was like, I kind of gave him a little bit of a pass.
Where he could justify every single kill except for that one. But again, my argument to that is, what is the first rule of Harry's code? Don't get caught.
I don't think that makes it right, though.
It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't make it right. No, but
I understand.
Dexter but he's following the code.
Yeah. Yes, but I can't justify that, right? Like
no.
As an audience, I can't be like, you know what, Dexter, that's all right. You know, you're a good man.
So
like,
would you say Dexter killing Logan is on the same level as Joe killing Beck?
Yeah, probably.
As this is the line, and now that you've crossed it, it's going to be hard to redeem you.
I can still enjoy the show as like I watch shows with bad characters all the time, but I as an audience can no longer be like, well, there's a version of this where you shouldn't get caught, or like like what you're doing is really good. Now I'm like, oh no, you are a villain. You are officially technically a villain in my book, and I'm still going to enjoy the show. But I can't I can't defend Dexter as much as I would have in the past. I could be like, well, he's saving the world. It's like, well, now you've actually killed a genuinely great person.
And they did kind of brush over it very quickly in Resurrection.
I don't like that.
Like, they explained it away decently well, but yeah, they did brush over it. Like, that might be like my one big nitpick is they do brush over a lot of the Iron Lake stuff very quickly.
I bet they regret doing that. I bet that's the like one thing that they're going to just never.
I would say either they never mention it again, or it becomes a plot point for a future season.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there, I guess.
Yeah.
Very, very enjoyable dynamics. The snow was a nice contract to Hot Night Miami. I would definitely agree with that. Like if you're going for something completely separate, which again,
and now for something completely different.
I do. Yeah, I've liked each location, although none of them are, I think, going to beat Miami for me in terms of just like the aesthetic and the vibe that I'm going to miss very dearly. Although that's the nice part about Original Sin. I think that's the reason.
Yeah, you get to go back.
Minutes. Yeah,
and it looks, and they film it like the old show. As well. Like, it doesn't have the new stylization of New Blood and Resurrection. Like, it does look like the old show.
Yeah. The Dude. Thanks for joining. The Dude, I love that name, asked us a couple questions. Will Dexter, and I guess this goes for like the new show, will Dexter get jealous that his son can do what he does, but also has emotions? Something Dexter can't have no matter how hard he tries. I mean, I think we've slowly seen him have some emotions. Like, he's slowly growing to get there. But I think that question still stands of like, do you think he's going to get jealous or, crave what Harrison is? Because Harrison does feel like an evolved version of Dexter. It seems like a more operating version of what Dexter is doing.
I want to briefly talk about this because I feel like I'd go way too deep into the episodes. Yeah. But I feel like they're setting up Harrison in a very interesting way. And I think Dexter, observing him from afar right now, is going to be an interesting way to go about things. I don't necessarily think Dexter would get jealous of his son for living this life that maybe he wishes he could have. But it is an interesting idea. But as much as Harrison does seem like an evolution of Dexter, he is also very much so shown himself as somewhat of a regression of Dexter. I think Harrison, for a lack of a better comparison, is a mix between Dexter and Joe Goldberg. Like, he's got the moral compass and the code of Dexter, but he's got the sloppiness and the crime of passion, heat of the moment ties as well. So if he can get that in check, sure, Harrison could be the peak final form that Dexter would want to achieve. But I think too the lack of emotion thing, like, we've kind of addressed that as well. Like, I think Dexter says he doesn't have emotions, but he does.
He does.
Like, he cares. Yeah. He does. Yeah, he does. And literally, jumping so far ahead, but what is the last line of episode 2? Like, since when did you start caring?
Yeah.
Just now.
Well, I mean, I'd argue that's kind of part of his downfall, right? Like he is so good in seasons 1 through 4 because he doesn't care. And I think each season we've seen him care a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And honestly, that probably happened with Rita's death. I think Rita's death unlocked something in him. Season 5, he ends up crying over her for the first time almost ever. And I guess Harrison's also being born kind of cracked something too. But like, it feels like the more he cares, the worse of a serial killer he is. So
yeah. I mean, think about how much he reacted to Hannah's death when he found out about that in New Blood as well. And I kind of do want to backtrack a little bit to the Hannah stuff. I think she became a much more likable character back in season 8.
Yeah, I agree.
And my favorite moment with her was her protecting Harrison on the bus.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was great. And I'm upset that they killed her off screen.
Okay, yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I don't know when it happened, but I did end up loving Hannah. Like, I did really, and it was season 8, and I think, honestly, it may have been New Blood, really, when I would have liked to have seen that a little bit. They kind of just tell you what happens, but, like, I like that she lived the rest of her life being a good mother to Harrison, despite how royally Dexter, like, treated her like shit every step of the way. Like, he sent her to prison. He was like, promised her that they would be together just to leave her behind with his child.
It's like, hey, you guys have fun in Argentina.
Like, what?
I'm gonna go become a lumberjack.
Like, what? Like you can. That's not like, you'd be pissed. Like, what the fuck, Dexter? But she still stayed. Like, she had every right to be like, well, see you, kid. But no, she stayed. She was a good mother until she died of cancer. Let me just throw it out there because it crossed my mind. Is there any world where she's alive? Is there any world?
So I told you, I was like, I have a theory.
Yeah.
Right?
I would think
so I think that there's a world in which Hannah sees the darkness in Dexter, or sees the darkness in Harrison, sends him to go see his father, and is like, all right, tell him I'm dead. Tell him I died. Like, make him have no other choice but to help you.
Ooh.
Right? If he went there and was like, oh, hey, yeah, Hannah sent me, like, I wanted to meet my dad.
Yeah.
He's like, no, go home. Go home, kid. Yeah. Like, yeah, that was the big crux of Dexter allowing Harrison to stay around, was he found out, obviously, that Hannah was dead. That would be a massive secret to have kept.
That'd be a cool twist.
It'd be a really cool twist. I think one of the main reasons why she didn't show up, I believe the actress was on another show, but I think that show recently just wrapped up. My mom's gonna yell at me if I get this wrong, but I think it was Handmaid's Tale. I believe is what she's on.
I know she's been on a couple
was on
over the years.
Any
chance she'd be a villain again? Because I feel like she'd have every right.
But I think it would be really interesting if that was like a secret that Harrison was keeping.
I agree, yeah.
And I would love to see that reunion of, like, where have you been for the last decade? Yeah. And why did you allow this to happen? Like,
to our son.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you fucked up our son. I raised a kind and a responsible boy, and he stayed with you for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Fucked him up.
Yeah, like he thought he thinks he killed you, goes and kills other people, gets on the police. Yeah, like again, we're gonna.
He would have every right to
open your eye, open your eyes, and look at what you've done. I think the amount of Dexter edits that start with that, and then Harrison saying that to Dexter, I think again, such a great parallel.
And I do
great parallel.
I do like the ending. Like, I think maybe it could have been paced a little better getting there, but I think ultimately Harrison killing Dexter because he fit the code is really cool. I think that's a really full circle moment.
Yeah.
Kind of send Harrison on his way. And again, works really well if you're that's it. That's all. And, I'm still not fully convinced. Like, I'm glad it's back, obviously, because we're talking about it and we get to have this conversation.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, it was a pretty good ending. But it seemed like people weren't happy with that ending either, it seems like. So
yeah, well, I think that there was a lot of... I think a lot of it had to do with Harrison and how he acted in that season, right? He was very teenagery, obviously that's what he was supposed to be, but he's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to listen to my dad about all this stuff. I'm going to go trust the villain of the season and go do all of these dumb things. And again, he also in one breath acted like he was 15, 16, but also in another breath pretends like he's 25.
Yeah.
I think that's but I think again they consolidated that so much better in Resurrection.
I agree.
Like, I think if you think about, like, you don't really think about his age too much, and you're just like, all right, well...
How old is he?
He's supposed to be... Again, he was born at the end of season 3, right?
Born in season 3, and then, they do stuff with him in season 4.
Season 3...
Because they treat him as if he's an adult now.
Yeah, I think he's only supposed to be 16. So, third season of Dexter premiered... or ended in December 14th, 2008. So it's supposed to now be 2022. So let's do some quick math here. 2022 minus 2008. Is that 14?
No way.
14, 15? Really? Yeah, that would be if this was present day. But this is supposed to still be... If you look at Dexter's driver's license in Resurrection, it's a 2022 issue date.
Okay.
So he's supposed to be like... So let's say 15. He's not 15. He's not 15.
How did he get a job at a hotel?
He's not 15. Like...
I thought they said in Resurrection that he's like 16 or like 15 or 16. I'm pretty.
Yeah, I just like.
What's the
They're playing fast and loose with the. They're definitely playing fast and loose with the timeline. Like,
yeah,
I think the 17 explanation would be great if they were just like, okay, let's retcon and say New Blood took place in 2025, not 2022 or 2021 into 2022.
I'm looking up what the official. What is it? Resurrection.
Okay, I'll believe that. I'll believe that.
I'm sorry, I'm not looking at my
No,
screen.
the dude says that he worked at Shakey's Plaza when he was 14. It's possible. Okay.
Okay.
But it just, again, obviously, the actor is... How old is the actor?
He's in his, 20s at least, I think.
He's 26. So, again, not the craziest thing. We've had, 30-year-old Cole Sprouse playing a high school kid in Riverdale.
So he's 22 in real life. They say he's 16, confirmed in New Blood. In the New Blood podcast, episode 8, Harrison is 16 years old.
Okay.
So he might be nearing 7. He might be nearing.
So then I guess the timeline. Then I guess the timeline's a little weird. Because again, I always assumed that each season was a year. Like the year that it came out was the year that it was supposed to take place in the original show. So again, it's
maybe there's like a year where it's like there's a year. I mean, there's been some stuff where like the last 8 months I've been whatever.
Yeah. So okay, I'll give him, but again, still is like that's
even like maybe he's 17.
Don't let's not think too hard about it, but it's still a little like
even if he let's say he is 17 right now, I still don't think he could get hired at a hotel, like a very pristine hotel. Like you need references, you need like a home address, you need a social security number, you need all the various
keep in mind this is 10 weeks after.
Yeah,
this happens in 10 weeks. He creates a whole new life for himself in 10 weeks.
That is true. I also thought about that. I was like, oh really? Okay. We're kind of getting ahead though, I guess.
Yeah, I know we are. I know we are. I'm literally nitpicking
it's fine.
I'm nitpick again. This shows how much we enjoy it because we can.
Oh yeah, like we're
sit there and nitpick the stupidest little thing.
Yeah, but again. I do. Okay, I will say I was not a fan of a lot of, not all of it. Some of it was good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the teen drama-ness of New Blood.
Yeah, it felt very Riverdale-esque.
You know what the show reminded me of, and this isn't really necessarily a good thing, even though I'm comparing it to a good show. This template reminds me of Superman and Lois in the way it's like, okay, our main hero moves to a small town with his now teenage boy, and while he's dealing with his heroic acts and his main story, his kids are off elsewhere with his kids' love interest, and the main boy is dating the head of the main female head of the city, and they're also kind of have a history session.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a lot of
comparisons with that. I did not pick that up. That's a good good pick out there.
Maybe that made me like it a little bit more because I'm just associating it with a show I fucking love. But yeah, some of the teen drama stuff, sometimes I liked it. Sometimes they were doing some really cool stuff. Sometimes it felt like, and I love Disney Channel stuff, but it felt like a really bad-written Disney Channel high school show, or like a really bad CW show. It kind of reminded me of what people think CW high school dramas are, of like what they associate them with. I think sometimes, and I don't know if the same writers came back from the original Dexter to this one, but sometimes people really struggle writing for teenagers. There's this assumption of what teenagers are like in media, and I think they really fell on their sword with this one of just like they're always having sex and doing drugs and drinking and going to parties, and it's like,
yeah, I'm like, all right, what kind of what was your childhood like?
Yeah. I think maybe it's getting better about it, but I think in retrospect it's like these, and sometimes kids are doing this stuff, and I don't have,
I mean, it happens for sure, but
by the way, I never went to a party like that in high school. I never got I was never around people that were
I didn't experience any of this stuff until I was in college. I didn't know that this was I didn't know that was an option in high school. I just I came home and played video games and made YouTube videos in my room. That was my high school experience. I don't know about you.
And maybe that's a call out for us.
Yeah, really.
The comments are lame.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you didn't touch grass. Okay, yeah. All right, cool. But
yeah. No, it's sometimes it worked, and I think Harrison as a whole in this season, I think, is very hit or miss for me. I like it. It gets better, I think, as the season goes on. But I do like it for just what it does for Dexter as a character. I really enjoy I guess I love single teenage dad Dexter, or single dad with a teenager Dexter, and it's kind of what I wanted from season 6 with Aster.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I really like him just really struggling to relate with this child in any sense of the word. I thought all of that stuff was really, really fascinating.
But the moment he glimpsed a bit of darkness in him, he was like, "Oh, yep, that's my son."
and
and he was excited, and I think Deb pointed that out too.
Yeah,
is dude, you no, that's messed up. Why are you happy that your son has these dark tendencies?
But that's always been this thing, right? He doesn't want to be alone. He wants to share in this experience.
Yes.
And almost every season, there's at least one character that he's kind of trying to bring into this world, but ultimately failing to do so.
And I'm glad. Suffer with me.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting leading into this new show because we're not necessarily dropping that story. It's kind of like a continuation that element of it that I'm very excited to explore. But no, that's fascinating. I think the characters itself are kind of like, most of them are just kind of like there for me. I think, I think it just shines a light because I think the show has had so many fantastic characters in its past, I should say. And I think like, because they're not trying to set their foundation down, right? Like they made the show to be the new final season of Dexter. So their main priority was just like, okay, wrap up Harrison, wrap up Dexter, wrap up kind of Deb, right? Like that was kind of their main goal. So none of the characters are really kind of meant to be these like very strong, very foundational characters. And we can talk about that with Resurrection here in a second. And it does kind of have that, like, I think maybe why I didn't like it as much as I wanted to is like, it does have that kind of like 6-episode event feeling to it. That
well, I mean, it was advertised as like, okay, mini series, limited series. Dexter's back after a decade. Let's wrap. Final ride. Let's wrap it up properly this time.
Yeah, and I again, like, that's not a bad thing at all. But I think just like what I fell in love of Dexter for is the formula with this episodic, this formula, this show that feels like real, genuine TV. And I think
and like the forensic aspect of things, like the investigation. Dexter's already being a detective in Resurrection, which is great. I think also one of the best aspects of New Blood was the flashback, not flashback episode, but the episode where he was explaining to Harrison like what he does. And like Dexter was getting so excited about like talking about like the clown, and like you've got the the gif of him with like the red nose on, he like pops it off and things like that. He's like, what'd you do to the clown? Oh, I made sure he would never do that again.
And I do think that's the best episode of New Blood. Yeah, it's the most.
Me too.
Feeling, right? Because
they widened the aspect ratio back to what the show used to look like. They put him back in the old clothes, with the old hairstyle and everything like that. The hairstyle sucked.
Oh my god,
his hair was awful.
But it was also kind of the point. I think.
Yeah, He went to Guy Gardner's barber apparently.
Yeah, no, and it's like, again, I can't fault it for that because I think it was exactly what it needed to be. But I am glad that as soon as this new show came out, it's already setting a foundation, because it's not like, oh, one last time. It's like, no, we're gonna be here for a while. Yeah.
It's like, yes, it's got the baggage from New Blood, but it doesn't it's not trying to wrap up a series. It's trying to start something new, which puts it in a much more unique spot. And also much more interesting spot, I feel like, as well.
Agreed. And I think, like, I think the show has the benefit of having that 10-episode run. That, like, 10 50-minute episodes is a great runtime in modern TV times. Like, I will
100%.
I will take that any day. Like sign the deal. I would love this for almost every show that we cover. Then I think that
I think 10 episodes is really the sweet spot right now.
And I think that will work even better now that it's not a one-off, right? Because, there was stuff last season was like, well, that could have been done a little bit more. You could have focused on that a little bit more. But now it's
you can.
Well, that's the end. Yes, it's like
this. And the writers have said this, the actors have said this, like, things will be introduced in Resurrection that are not meant to play out fully this season.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited. Do you have any final thoughts on New Blood that we haven't mentioned
yet?
I
mean, we kind of mentioned Clancy Brown a little bit, but we didn't really mention like kind of his motives and that sort of thing, and kind of the big reveal with him is like him like kidnapping these girls and using them for target practice, and then like being like this like doll maker kind of character was very messed up. Like, I think he was again had one of the most like insane MOs in the end, and then he kind of realizes it himself too. Is like, yeah, I'm messed up, sure, but like that's
I wanted a little. I think I just wanted a little bit more onto like why he does what he does. Like diving into it, like like I know he's messed up, but I kind of want to see like how we kind of got into this process.
I mean, we got a little bit of it. It was like, it was his father, I believe, right?
It was.
Yeah.
I guess it just felt a little like I think you just need like just like
a
one
little bit more. Yeah,
just a slight push to make him put him, like, I think it was a good villain. I think he could have been a great villain. They just pushed him a slight
I liked his theme music too. I think his music was great.
Sure.
Like anytime like the record started playing again. Great.
And like I loved everything like him and Harrison and this like battle of fathers. I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that was almost one of the highlights of this season. No, like he was great. And I also like, I like the season being this like spiritual successor of both season 4 and season 8. And season 4 obviously
the season 4
this,
ties.
Like, obviously
you got
like,
the Trinity Killer podcast, Harrison having his weapon of choice be a straight razor. Yeah, that's so messed up on so many levels.
Yeah, no, and like I think like him being, I guess it kind of skipped over a little bit, but like him having the Dark Pastor, I think is very interesting because they very much established that early on. Of like that's always been a fear of Dexter, that he could be like me, and the doctors was like, no, the kids can't remember that far, being that young, and you were
Dexter's like, well, I did.
Yeah, but also Dexter was 3.
Yes, Harrison was a little bit younger. Yeah,
much
younger. Yeah.
So, we kind of threw it off as like,
but it was such a public thing, though, right? Is like, think about it. You have the podcast about Trinity Killer, like that is a tough upbringing, right? Is not only was your biological mother killed by a serial killer, your adoptive, your dad, who is also a serial killer, abandoned you.
Yeah.
Your adoptive mother is a retired serial killer, retired serial poisoner.
Does he know that?
I don't know.
I don't think
that was never really addressed. No. But like Harrison is the son of two serial killers.
Oh, he's had a fucked up life. Yeah, He has it horrible. By the way, this is a pretty good time to bring it up. Do they reference Harrison's siblings because they kind of disappear? I am so disappointed with how they handled Astra and Cody. I let me ask you here actually, like, what are characters that are not announced for Resurrection that you want to see come?
I would love to see that. I would love to see them come back, and I'd like to see who they side with. Right? Do they side with Dexter or do they side with Harrison?
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Is like Harrison is the last real link that Astra and Cody have to their mother.
Yeah.
But also Dexter was there for them when they needed him as much as he could be.
But once they find out that he was alive and he just chose not to be there for them.
Yeah.
Like that is, I think, even worse than Harrison. You know what I mean?
But I feel like in some ways I would like to think maybe they would understand, right? Like in my mind almost, I see them as kind of like the fact that they kind of grew up with him a little bit and kind of knew how he was around them
a little bit.
Yeah, it is like, I think that, and yet you're right, is think back to that episode where like right after Rita's death, or not right after, but after Rita's death had passed and things like that, in season 5 when Astor came back and they had that whole episode where Dexter like, beats up the bad stepfather and things like that.
Yeah.
Like they kind of came to some kind of common ground. Like I would almost think that if Astor and Cody found out about who Dexter really is, that they'd kind of understand or appreciate that in some sort of way. At least I'd like to think. But again, that could just be wishful thinking on that end.
I think it's hard. Like I think it's very hard to come to terms with. Like at least I would if I found out that like him dying was probably very rough on them. I bet that was very traumatic for those, especially Cody.
Yeah. But yeah, imagine seeing on the news like, yep, Dexter Morgan is alive after 10 years, and they're like, what the actual heck is going on? Yeah.
I really hope, and maybe it's not this season, but honestly I think it should be this season for them to be like, what the fuck? Let's go see what the like, why the fuck did he leave him? Or like maybe even just one of them. Like I think both is probably unrealistic, but maybe it's like Cody being like,
or maybe he gets like or like he gets a text message or a call or something like that, or an email. By the way, speaking of characters and things, in New Blood, when Batista gets the email from Chief Bishop about Dexter and everything like that, I guess let's talk about that a little bit too, because that really leads us into Resurrection quite a bit. Apparently, there's an email on Batista's computer from Masuka that Masuka's getting married. Married.
Yay!
So
Masuka,
I wonder if
I want.
Yeah.
You know what I would even take? Because like I don't know how he fits in the show. Like I think it'd be very hard to kind of fit him into this new modern take on the show.
Yeah.
Give me like a little offshoot. Give me like a little like 30-minute special about like what he's been up to for the last like 20 years. The
Masuka Chronicles.
Because like you want to go back into season 8 stuff, but I actually thought I completely forgot to mention it there. I actually thought he was the best character in season 8, which I would
never
say.
Oh my gosh.
But like I know like character growth, but like I love
you liked every character that you didn't like before. That's amazing.
I like him coming in like having his daughter come in and be like, I'm your daughter, and be like, fuck, I can't find you attractive. And I think like that is actually such a great final ending for his character, to be like him finally realizing what he's been doing.
He's like, all right, I gotta kind of grow up a little bit. I've got to mature.
Yeah, like I love that scene when he's like in the like in the like the bar where she's working. He's like, "Hey, stop looking!" Or and he's like, "Oh, is this what I've been doing to every woman ever?" And I was like, it doesn't excuse him, obviously, but I was like, oh, actual physical character growth.
Hey, look at that!
I was like, this is so cool, and I would love to see like where he's grown and where he's at. And again, I don't know how. Like maybe he invites them to the wedding or something. Maybe get a wedding episode. That would actually be kind of fun. And like Dexter only shows up because there's like a serial killer like at the wedding or something. Like that could be a pretty fun episode.
Masuka's gonna marry a serial killer.
Yeah, that could be like a fun like he has to go back to like Miami for like one episode.
Oh my gosh, to go
Dexter,
see Masuka.
Like, yeah, it's just like a reunion or like this kind of homage to that original Dexter series. Like, I think that could be kind of cool.
Oh yeah. I think that'd be very fun. There's certain characters that have been teased, certain characters that have been announced, some things that are still questionable.
Yeah.
Pretty much confirmed without being confirmed. Maybe Brian shows up this season.
Yeah, we've heard that. Yeah.
Possible Masuka cameo.
I hope so.
Most likely Quinn is going to show up too.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm excited to see how they all play into Resurrection. But again, I think that we don't need to show you don't need to show us everything.
Yes.
At the start. And again, I don't want to know too much. Like I stopped watching trailers.
Oh, sure.
When we got pretty close to the show coming out, because I didn't want to know a lot of stuff. I'm gonna watch this season on, but like I don't want to know too much. I want to be surprised, because again, I knew a lot about the original series as I was watching through it. Not that things didn't surprise me, but I had all of these preconceived, like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. This is how people received it. This, that, and the other, like things to look out for when the show actually is playing out. But now here, I've got now 8 more episodes of I don't even know what to expect.
Yeah.
Like I've got some theories, like I've seen some stuff in trailers, and that's where I want to leave it. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Right, like I don't really know who the villain is, because they've even said that like, yeah, we're leading towards Peter Dinklage and serial killer Avengers, that sort of thing. But is he really the main villain? Is one of the serial killers the other serial killers the main villain? Is the Dark Passenger killer the main villain?
I'm actually very into that. I'm actually a huge fan of this. I'll save it.
Yeah. So anything else from New Blood?
I'm just looking at this cast list just very quickly.
Yeah.
All right. Like who's on the table? Maria would be interesting. I don't need her, but like I could see. I don't know what that actress is up to. I don't know, where she's at. Again, it's also
something interesting. Did you know she has a twin?
No.
Yeah, like very interesting.
Let's
Did not know that.
Line.
Yeah, have, like, look where does long lost twin.
What if she never died, but that was her twin sister that helped her and the case, and Deb killed her her sister instead. Yeah, Vince, I would like. Quinn, I weirdly want. I can't believe I'm there, but I'm like, yeah, I want to see where he's at 10 years later.
Let's see what Matthews is up to.
Yeah. Oh, would he be alive? He was pretty old.
Oh, yeah. I would assume so.
How old is that actor? Because he was pretty old. Hold on, I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up. How old's the actor? What's he up to? He is 76 years old.
Okay, yeah, he's chilling.
He could.
He's chilling.
Would he? I wonder if he's still working there or if he's retired.
Oh no! Remember, he retired in season 7.
Yeah, but he came back.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. He
came back in 8. Yeah, because they had to fill the spot that Maria was gone.
Right.
So like he was around a lot in season 8.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Would we want Jamie?
That would be interesting. Yeah.
I'm actually down for Jamie.
Yeah,
especially with the Harrison stuff we have now.
Wow.
I'm actually kind of
okay. So you know that. A tie that I thought about. Harris again going forward. Harrison's babysitting now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. Like, I mean, obviously, it's like okay, well, like anybody who's babysitting probably had a babysitter when they were a kid too. But it's cool. Right. It's cool to see that little.
I would kind of like her to find out. And to see the horrors that this one sweet child.
Yeah, it's like, oh god,
it would be, and it's a completely different person now, right?
Yeah, it's not like Batista calls her. It's like, hey, remember that kid that you used to babysit? He's a murderer now.
Yeah. How about Rita? Is she still acting? Is she?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She said that she wants. She said that she wants to come back.
Okay.
I feel like that's the position. At least the last I heard.
When I heard that there was going to be 3 ghosts in this episode, Rita was the one. I'm like, I could see that would make sense if she was one of those. Dokes we saw.
Yeah.
Trying to go through. Oh, David Ramsey. Let's get him back in this bitch.
Yeah. Let him show up with the Green Lantern ring.
Yeah. What are some of the where did I last leave off? Oh, there's that one. What was the other one I wanted to bring up? Dexter and Joe Goldberg would get along great. They would not.
Absolutely not. I'm so sorry. No.
Dexter kills him.
No, Dexter. Yeah, Dexter would kill. Again, Joe would be a half an episode villain. Dexter would take care of him so quickly. This does not even need to be a debate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but Joe is getting
no.
Joe is getting floored by Dexter.
I definitely, now that I've seen the whole show, I definitely agree with you where he is a villain of the week. He is you're killing all these love interests that you've had? Well, all right, you're on my list. Yeah, you're right. New Blood didn't have any Uma Thurman type entrance that made you wonder who she was. They didn't have time. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Trinity said, I just want them to bring back James Dokes. I don't care how they do it. I just want to see him again.
Surprise.
Maybe check out this new season.
Yeah.
What do Cody and Asher think of Harrison after Dexter died in the storm? That's the thing. I do wonder if they stayed in touch, right? Like, did they come? Maybe they came up for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Like I know Hannah didn't ever know.
I was gonna say, did number one, did Hannah know about them? Number 2, did Hannah even want Harrison interacting with people from his past?
Because I guess they were undercover, right?
They were supposed to. Yeah.
Hannah was a known murderer, so maybe they couldn't. But maybe that's a thing. Like, they've been spending all these years trying to find Harrison again, right? Like, they have a long lost brother out there that it just I think it'd be dumb for them not to have Astor and Cody show up.
Yeah, I think that they show up eventually, whether it's this season or a future season. I think that needs to be, again, something that happens.
Yeah, that would be. Does Harrison even know about them? Right, like he was so young.
Doesn't he? I feel like he mentions them in New Blood, doesn't he? I believe so.
Maybe. I mean,
I did think it was kind of funny how, too, speaking of things that he remembers, you messaged me and was like, he only remembers Deb swore,
I
and
love
that's it.
that. That was so good. I liked there was the line in the original Sin where it's like, mind my French. It's like, your French is just fine, thank you. I was like, that's such a Deb line.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on from that. I did watch Original Sin, but I think I'm just going to save it all for next week. I'm going to save that.
Okay.
We'll talk about the whole season.
Yeah.
But I will say I could see this being my favorite spinoff. I could see Original Sin being my favorite spinoff. Just because I think it's very smart. I think because the show is going in such a different direction, but I think a lot of the fan base is kind of craving what Dexter was. It's like, well, this is good, but it's not the Dexter I remember. So it's like, okay, well, here this is. It's that that Miami, Deb and Dokes, or I guess not Dokes, but Deb and Maria and all these characters, and you could run that for a very long time as well. So
yeah. What do you think? We don't have to go super in depth on it, but what do you think of them kind of teasing out resurrection at the beginning of Original Sin? Like, you get that immediate carry on from the end of New Blood at the beginning of Original Sin, and Original Sin is literally Dexter remembering things as
I thought that was a good opener,
fighting for his life.
I also think that's their way of just kind of being like, I assume some people might be like, well, why would I want to watch a prequel if Dexter's dead? Like, I don't care if they're done. So I think this is their way of being like, well,
it's like, hey, there's some little ties here.
Yeah.
But also it does present one big plot hole, right? So if this is Dexter's memories, how are we seeing things from Harry's perspective? How are we seeing things from Dev's perspective? Sure. That sort of thing.
And I guarantee that there is bunch of continuity errors already. That's this didn't happen.
Well, and I wonder too, is this legitimately one for one what happened, or is it just like Dexter's Dark Passengers, how he interprets / remembers the events?
Yeah, that's fair.
Or how he was told of these events.
Stranger Same. I am very excited for that. And I'll say these last two spinoffs have reintroduced it in a very big way, and I feel like each of these shows kind of circle around each other. Obviously, you have the main show, and you have Harrison in the main show going through what he's going through, and it's well, that's there's some parallels to young Dexter and Harrison, and it's showing how Dexter's not that far off to what Harrison is now, and then the Trinity Killer is how Harrison is the way he is now. It's the start of everything we're doing right now, so bringing him back in now it makes a lot more sense. And I think he had a cameo in New Blood, and he had a cameo in this, spoilers, but this new season. So
Trinity is, for all intents and purposes, Dexter's Reverse Flash.
Yeah. He's the one that got away, right? He
didn't not get away, but he's the one who succeeded.
He's the only one that beat Dexter, right? He's the only one that
him and Saxon kind of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boo!
But so it's so funny in a weird way, right? I liken Trinity killing Rita to Reverse Flash killing Barry's mom, and Saxon killing Deb is basically Zoom killing Barry's dad. In a way, if you want to draw that kind of comparison.
Sure. But yes, let's talk about almost 2 hours in. Let's talk about Resurrections.
We had to slowly set it up.
Yeah, we had to. Everyone's gone now, and they're like, "Well, they didn't talk about it. I'm leaving." Next week it will be better because we'll basically just have. We'll have original.
It's literally just going to be that, and that's it.
And again, this was just a Dexter. We're just getting out everything, and then we can move forward next week. But Resurrections. My first time I'm ever watching modern. Actually, I guess both of us. This first time either of us are watching modern.
Yeah, first time. First time we get to actually see it as it releases. Yeah. First time we got to kind of experience the lead up and the promotion. They did so well with the promotion for this show. Leading up to it, all of the the set pictures kind of strategically released and not telling us too much. And then we get to the CCXP panel. Which is where they started revealing a lot of information, where we got that first trailer, we got posters, we got character descriptions, and they just went all out. The red carpet premiere, they brought back so many of the original actors. They had new series actors plus original Sin actors, and like everybody was at this event, which was really cool to kind of see everybody interact in that regard.
I've been loving all
and
the
it just,
memes and
yeah,
like
dude,
I've been
the
loving
edits
them
are
being like,
back.
yeah, being like, hey, say this line, and like all the
Yeah.
characters trying to do their best, and like that's been really, it's been really cool.
They just seem so excited to be back, and it's just for this property to have had new life breathed into it.
Yeah,
it is literally a resurrection of Dexter the character, Dexter the show, and Dexter the fandom.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because, you know, it does feel like this season, or this, at least the first episode, felt like a reward for the long-term fans, where it's like, listen, we know those last couple of seasons weren't people's favorites.
Yeah, we know we kind of messed up a little bit.
We know a lot of you did not like New Bloods. Here's a little thank you. Here's 20 cameos in 8 minutes. You know, whatever.
It is you're right. It is a love letter to the original show.
It is.
There's so many pieces of overlap. There's so many fun little references and ties, and, you know, wrapping up small little loose ends from the end of New Blood and things like that. And just setting the stage very well, like resetting the status quo. You know, you've got Harry back in the dark passenger seat.
Yes.
And
rest in peace, Deb.
Yeah,
they don't explain that. They don't explain where
yeah.
Deb went.
Well, I mean, I guess she
died
basically,
with
she was like, "Hey, you don't need me anymore," kind of, in the same way that at the end of season 8, Harry was like,
"Yeah,
well, you don't need me anymore."
It kind of felt like after he gave Harrison these tools to do what he did, she was like, "Well," like she appears in that last episode, but it's kind of like, "Well, I'm out of here."
Yeah, well, it's like, okay, I'm not the face that you need to see right now. Like, you need Harry.
Yeah.
You know, and again, but that's Dexter's brain, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that works well because I think like he needed Deb to grieve over her, grieve over death, and he needed her in that isolation, and now he needs a father, right? Like he needs to look at his father and be like, "Hey, what did you do for me?"
Yes, and Dexter needs his father because Harrison needs his father.
His father, yeah, and I do think it is kind of a perfect extension of this universe and of Dexter's story, where like he's been a father, but he's never really truly been a father. I feel like fatherhood has always taken second place for Dexter. Like
as much as he tries, he's always number one, a serial killer.
Yes, and now they're one and the same, right? Those two worlds have combined, so his brain can be like, "Oh no, my world is about my son now, and that's going to be what's most important to me." And I think
that's exactly how the show sets it up, right? Is like, just let's pick up, right? So the first episode, what is it titled? A Beating Heart. And it picks up right where we left off at the end of New Blood, right at the beginning of Original Sin. It's been 10 weeks. Dexter's been in a coma, and he gets a few visits from some friendly, not so friendly ghosts.
Yeah.
Hello, Dexter Morgan. Everybody's favorite Miguel, and then Dokes, as well as obviously Harry. So, yeah, I mean, dude, these, again, I wish we didn't know about these cameos going into it.
Yeah.
But I think they served their purpose very, very well.
And they don't overdo it either.
No, it's not a gratuitous cameo.
I feel like a part of me, like, in the moment, I was like, "Oh man, don't go." I want to see this, like, it would be cool. And maybe there's a small possibility again this season.
Maybe they come back.
Yeah, maybe. And so, but that was such a, I think, like I said, it felt like a thank you to somebody of those.
Yes, 100%.
Tortured for the 10-year break after what they did to him. It's like, here's a little treat, Here's
a little treat, and they are the catalyst. They're the motivation for Dexter to get up, right? They're like, hey, we had our differences in the past. You messed up. We messed up. But hey, our relationship made you who you are today, and who you are today is a father that needs to get back out there and protect your son.
Yeah. I think Miguel was probably the, not the weakest one because I enjoyed seeing him, but like he like that one's kind of just there, and I feel like he didn't say a lot. But I think Arthur was real. I liked Arthur. I liked his little back and forth with Dexter, where it's like he's my son. I birthed Dexter. Like I birthed Harrison. You may be his father, but I raised him, kind of thing. Like I was there where you weren't, and it's like, oh man, this is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And then I liked, Dokes' whole thing is like, you are a creep. You've always been a creep, but at least go save yourself.
Yeah, it's like, hey, like I saw something deep down in you, and it's like, you know what? Is like it feels out of place. It's like, would Dokes actually say this? But they were kind of getting to that point at the end of season 2, and it's so funny to think about. Like, okay, in another life where crazy Lila didn't exist, maybe Dexter and Dokes could have come to some sort of agreement and common ground, and they could have been friends.
They were friends once he saw the real Dexter, and I thought that was interesting, right?
Like, because there were shreds of Dexter could see parts of himself in Dokes, and Dokes could see parts of himself in Dexter.
Yes.
So that was a very interesting connection.
Dexter could see the bad in Dokes, and Dokes could see the
good in Dexter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I said it wrong,
Dexter could see the bad in the bad side of Dokes, but Dokes could see the good side of Dexter.
Yeah, I guess that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously they had him say his iconic line, which I loved. I did roll my eyes just a little bit. Like
we need it. We need that as a clip drop. We need to do that for next week. We need to.
Motherfucker. Like I would be mad if they didn't do it. But I also had to roll my eyes a little bit. I was like, all right.
Right. It's like, okay, it's they're self-conscious. Like they know about the memes.
Oh, I think they knew of the memes even before the original show ended. Because
well, I mean, Trinity said, "Hello, Dexter Morgan." Like he said the thing too. Like that's also very memed.
Yeah.
No. I'm standing right outside your house, Kyle.
No, it's I'm glad they did it. It's like the Family Guy meme where it's like, he said the thing.
Exactly.
So it's, I hope that brought joy to people. Here's something I thought about today.
Okay.
If Dokes never said that line, if that line never existed, do you think Dokes would be as popular as a character that he is? Because people love Dokes. But I do think a lot of it is because they love that scene. They love that one scene, and it sticks in your mind.
I think so. Just because he said so many other iconic things.
Yeah.
Like the scene, too, where he confronts Dexter on the pier. Or like at the docks there in season 2, where it's like, it was you all along. I got you. You're the Bay Harbor Butcher. Like that scene there, too, I think, is the other iconic side of it. And like they have some really fun interactions.
He's a good character, and I think like in the context of the show, obviously he's still very important. But anytime I ever hear Dokes mentioned, it's because they are quoting him, quoting that one line. And I was like, would people be as excited for him to show up if he doesn't say that line? Like, you know, if he never had that line, would people be like, oh, it's him, oh my god, like,
it's the guy.
It's it's like, oh, all right, cool.
It's like, oh, hey, it's the guy from season 2 that hasn't aged in 16 years.
And I will say he aged very good. I think he could just play that his season 2 self again without anything like, oh.
I think too, in a funny way, I think Dexter actually looks younger this season than he did in New Blood.
What do you think is the point? Right? Yes. Like I think in like New Blood he's supposed to look like old.
Yeah, kind of like old and disheveled. Yeah, a little bit.
It's supposed to be like your like old man Logan moment, and then in like Deadpool and Wolverine he's supposed to look like fresh and
right.
Good as new.
He's back. Yeah, he's back. I think that's a really good contrast there.
No, that was good. We already mentioned it. I'm already liking Harrison more here than I did in the other one. I maybe that's because a lot of his friends aren't here. Like the high school stuff isn't really here. But I very instantly I was like, oh, I feel like I could be content if this was the show. Like if you weren't having all these other elements, I'd be like, I am still really enjoying this, and I think I think it works. I kind of like this new template where it's like, yes, he's still going after people, obviously, but this new aspect of like, well, I'm going to clean up his messes. I'm going to clean up his thing. And I think this, introducing this new cast of characters in here. I don't have any of their names memorized yet, but I liked this new, I like this almost new this like they have their own Dexter, right? This new kind of special cop character that's just an expert and can trace things super easily. And Dexter's like, fuck, they have a meet. This is terrible. Like, this
right. And Dexter's doing the thing where he's like saying all the words in his head, and then and just as he's saying it, it's like, oh, he could have done this with this, and then they say the exact same thing. And he's like,
fuck.
yeah. I think that's fun. But back to Harrison though, right? So the episode 1 kind of opens up giving us our own kind of Harrison style of the Dexter intro. Like, you get to see him, like, he shaves and he's like listening to the music, going through his morning routine. I feel like him kind of going into the hotel was very similar to like what you would see of Dexter in an earlier season, like, greeting everybody at the police department, that sort of thing. Like, very much so, again, drawing those parallels, like father, like son.
Yeah.
Harrison seems to be doing well up until the big thing of the episode that is really going to be the big catalyst of the whole show. Right, is so Harrison kills somebody. And he does it because this person fits the code. He does it to protect this innocent woman, kills this guy, and goes about it in a Dexter manner, right? Yeah. So he cleans up the crime scene. Yeah. He makes everything look nice and pristine. He chops the body up into 9 individual pieces, which is, again, a great tie, because once Dexter hears that, he's like, that's my son. Like, I taught him to do that. And he's excited. And Harry's like, dude, are you happy that your son just murdered somebody? But I think it's fun, though, too, is that Harrison does this like an old pro. Like, from what we know, this is legitimately his first real kill.
His first kill, yeah.
But in Harrison's mind, this is not his first kill, because he still thinks that he killed his father.
Yeah.
And which is why not only does this kill continue to haunt him throughout episode 1, episode 2, but also he's having PTSD to Back to the Forest. Like when he goes up the elevator, he still sees that. He's seeing visions of his father. And even when he eventually sees his father for real, he thinks he's still hallucinating as well. So this is really getting to Harrison. I know you mentioned as well, like Harrison's still like, he throws up at the sight of like the body and stuff like that, which...
And that's what separates him and Dexter, right?
Yes.
It's like Dexter wouldn't care about...
Right, no, is Dexter's fascinated by the blood and all of that, wherein Harrison is fascinated by I feel like the vigilante aspect of it.
He wants to be a hero.
He wants to
be Batman. Yeah.
No, the Punisher. And
that makes him I think that's kind of like what Deb kind of wanted for him in the end, where it's like, she didn't want that, right? She wanted him to be normal and not a murderer, but she's like, okay, I can get wanting to be a hero and saving people and stuff like that, but why do you like it? Why do you have trophies of it? So it's almost like it seems like a version of this scenario that Deb would have wanted for Dexter. And I think that's
right. And you're right. The trophies, Harrison doesn't keep a trophy.
Doesn't keep it. No,
he doesn't keep a trophy, but he accidentally keeps a trophy though. Is the watch that the guy gave him to fix that he still has in his possession. I have such a big theory. Like, should I just say it now? And then we'll go into everything. Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So, again, big setup. Dexter's been out of commission for 10 weeks. He has to go through all this, physical therapy, all that stuff. The ghosts send him on his track. He gets a visit from Batista. Batista is kind of like excited to see his friend in one breath, but in the other, he's like, I heard all these things about you being the Bay Harbor Butcher. Suspicious what happened to you when you disappeared. Suspicious surrounding the death of LaGuerta, all of that. Yeah, and I got here to Iron Lake. Your ex-girlfriend told me that you were the Bay Harbor Butcher, but then she retracted her statement, said that Chief Bishop covered all of Dexter's tracks, which I think is very weird if we never hear from her again. I don't know why. Like, outside of, the little note that she gave, or, sent to him, basically like, thanks for helping me catch my killer. Like, I don't see that as her, like, as much as she would appreciate that. Everything that we learned about her in New Blood would lead me to believe, like, yeah, sure, she'd be grateful, but she's not going to let Dexter free. Like, she's not going to trade catching one killer to let another killer go. Like,
and I
maybe
think
go ahead.
Like, she had that moment with Harrison, right? Like her gift to Dexter was, I will let your son free, and he will not get prosecuted for this crime. But you are going to go to prison forever, arguably a worse killer than Mr. Krabs, right? Like, obviously, like, he was a bad guy, but like as far as she knows, hundreds of bodies that Dexter has comparatively to 20, 30 that this guy had, right?
Bay Harbor Butcher.
Right. So yeah, like Shortcar says, I understood they wrote themselves into a corner. Angela backtracking seems like weak writing. Dexter lied on multiple occasions so far. She wouldn't let 100 and I was actually kind of a little pissed at the start because I was like, bro, what?
It's like it almost sounds like this is like something that would happen if she got paid off or something. You know what I mean? Is like, it just seems sketchy. If that makes sense.
I understand they need a status quo, and for the show to work, they don't want Dexter to be this known criminal.
Right, like they can't have those ties to Iron Lake anymore, to New Blood. But again, it just doesn't. I wouldn't say it like, I wouldn't say it like totally kills her character for me, but like, that's going to be such an interesting conversation if she ever reappears. Like, I would like to know why. Because again, on the surface, okay, thanks for helping me catch my killer. Let's let Harrison live his life. And maybe she's like, okay, well, Harrison needs his father. But like 2 seconds ago, you were happy with the fact that he died. And he killed Logan. She covered up a murder. It's one thing to give him the Bay Harbor Butcher pass, but she covered up the murder to the extent that made now Logan look like a bad guy. Han shot first, Logan shot first, and Dexter was just defending himself. Where's Quinn at? We need our it was obviously self-defense drop as well. But come on, like that might be my. Yeah, that might be the my only quote unquote issue with it. Again, not necessarily a big issue. It's something that has to happen in order to propel the plot forward for what they want to tell here.
But then I think it's like, should it be happening in the first place then?
Yeah, exactly. It's the writers being like, all right, cool. We wrote, like you said, we wrote ourselves into a little bit of a corner. Let's squeak our way out, brush it under the rug, and never talk about it again.
Yeah, and I think that is because, like, I think that was a little bit of my excitement for this new show. I understand why, because they don't want that, right? But there was part of me that's like, do people finally know who Dexter Morgan is and what he's done? And I was low-key really excited for, like, the consequences of that. I was like, okay, a Dexter that's, like, on the run from, like, the law. And, like, I thought that was kind of like, him trying to do what he does. Well, and I know that probably would have been a bit silly because he would always get out of these things where he shouldn't have. But like, I was fascinated to see what that was going to be like.
Yeah, it's once again Dexter like weasels his way out of. He weasels his way out of yet another like certain death scenario. And speaking of certain death scenario, it's like, oh, it was so cold that it slowed your heart rate, slowed your the bleeding.
No. Bullshit.
Mr. Blood Spatter Analyst, is that true? Is that true, Dexter? Like,
this might be some of the weak, like, just in this first part here.
There's a lot of mental gymnastics that you have to do in order to again get to the part of the show that is the show itself. But once that gets going, you're like, okay, cool. I'm here. I'm here for it. And again, not that it was bad not that it was bad storytelling. I just think it was, again, very obvious that it was okay. We're writing ourselves out of this corner to propel the story forward. But again, I think Batista coming into play here was great. I think, again, this is the Original Sin reference that you're not going to get.
Okay.
But for those of you who have seen Original Sin, him bringing Dexter the Cubano sandwich, he orders those in Original Sin, which I think is very fun.
Cool.
But obviously too is Dexter, the Dexter food stuff is awesome. Like, get the sandwiches, orders the burgers, he likes the pickles. I think the cop from Iron Lake is like, oh, he must be so miserable. Dexter's just like chowing down. I love that. I think hungry Dexter is my spirit animal. Like, I feel like a lot of times I am hungry Dexter.
And that, you know, like, again, I've waited like 3 days for it, obviously, but I feel like there's a lot of people that have been waiting for the Batista Dexter reunion after all these years. Yeah, like that's what people wanted out of New Blood, and they didn't get it there. And maybe one of the reasons why they brought it back in the first place is like, okay, people clearly want all these like interactions that we've been waiting for. And I
think it was great. Is like there was so much tension there without them saying anything.
Like he knows that he knows, and he knows, and it's like, but we can't
say that we know. Yeah. He literally, he came in there, he laid all his cards out on the table. He's like, dude, I know you're the butcher. I know you had something to do with my wife's death. Like, you're going down. You're going down, buddy. Like, we were friends, but like,
and he still wants to believe him, right?
Yeah, like there's shreds. Like, when he goes to check on him, like in the shower, he's like, "Oh, like, hey, Dexter, you okay? You okay in there, buddy?" Like, you know. But obviously,
he wants to be wrong so badly.
He does,
and I think that's the reason people want him to know so badly, because it's like he trusted him, like he was family to
he was his, like one of his real true friends.
Yeah, and Dexter doesn't necessarily see it that way. Like, he, unfortunately, Batista is nothing to Dexter, right? He's just like someone from his past, which breaks my heart. But like to him, it's like, you are my family. I invited. Like, you were one of my own.
Yeah, it's like I spoke at your memorial, dude. Like, we grieved you, we mourned you, and now you show up after 10 years, and we find out that not only did you frame Dokes, not only did you get and get him killed, not only did you frame or get LaGuerta killed, not only did you get your own sister killed.
Yeah, your wife.
But
he doesn't know that, but
it's just like, dude, it's gonna be really interesting.
I'm afraid of what storyline is going down.
Batista is, for all intents and purposes, an antagonist this season, at least an antagonist for Dexter.
Yeah.
And again, I will be very excited to see what path he goes down, because he's gonna inevitably cross paths with Harrison.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And how much does he know about what Harrison is doing? How much does Harrison know about Batista as well? I think that's going to be very interesting.
I'm nervous about, like, long term, where are we going? Right?
Yes. Because, So again, this is my theory right now. So we've got this dark passenger killer, which was something that was advertised quite a bit in those original trailers. This is a guy that, strangely enough, looks just like Dexter, but in a hoodie and sunglasses, right? So he goes around killing Uber drivers, basically, and they call him the Dark Passenger Killer. Dexter gets upset. Yeah, Dexter gets upset because dude steals his trademark name and is like, "All right, cool. There's a serial killer out here. This town ain't big enough for two Dark Passengers." I do think it's also very funny, like, okay, somebody took the Dark Passenger name. Will we see Dexter go back to the Dark Defender? But so
you mentioned it here. I was like, that's some season 1 shit. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What a reference.
But in the background, all of this, you have Uma Thurman's character, who is working for Peter Dinklage's character, who is this like eccentric billionaire whatever that has like she's his bodyguard and things like that, and he's assembling the serial killer team. He drops off an invitation. That invitation that she drops off is at the house of the Dark Passenger Killer is what I'm assuming. The dude's name is Ronald Schmidt is the Dark Passenger Killer, right? So this house with the gaming PC and stuff like that drops off the invite, connecting the dots a little bit. We see Dexter in the trailer wearing that getup in that house, in that chair, and is like, "Hey, what do you think?" to Harry. So I'm guessing Dark Passenger Killer is a villain for no more than another episode or two. Dexter makes quick work of him, but assumes his identity because I think originally maybe just because like, okay, well, I'm the Dark Passenger, duh.
Yeah.
But there's obviously the connection to the serial killer organization that maybe he discovers after he takes on that identity. He finds that invitation, goes and scopes them out himself, or the other side to the equation. Obviously, the detectives are very hot on Harrison's trail. What if we go so full circle that Dexter, like there were all these theories, oh, Dexter works for the cops, Dexter works for the FBI. What if he becomes a CI for this cop, right? So she's like, hey, I know your son did this murder. I know who he is. I know who you are. I have a pretty good idea of your past. But right now, there are much bigger fish to fry. There's this crazy billionaire that's assembling this serial killer squad. You just took care of one of our biggest unsolved cases in a few days.
Yeah.
Let's have you assume let's have you go undercover. You are now Ronald Schmidt. You are the Dark Passenger Killer. Infiltrate Prater's organization, befriend them, figure out what their angle is, and take down all the serial killers from the inside. If you do that for us,
we'll let you go.
We will let you go. We will let but more importantly, we will leave Harrison alone. I think that's the big thing. Is Dexter will do this in order to protect Harrison, and I think that's where we're going this season.
Interesting. I definitely think you're at least close to being right. Like I think either way, I think you're right about him going undercover and pretending to be this guy because they've really nailed it over the head that he looks like this guy. Even like in the scene, they make that look like Michael C. Hall.
Yeah, I thought it was him originally. I was like, is that him? But like he sounds a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that aspect of it is 100% true. And then Stranger here asks, how do you guys feel about Dexter up with the other serial killers? Because a lot of people don't like that, and they want him to kill the other serial killers this season. And that would make sense with your theory of like,
again, the ends justify the means.
It's like he's playing the long game. He's like, I am going to kill them. He's not yet. And
no, he's not. I don't think he's joining them. Mm-hmm. Again, Dexter would not do that. But Ronald Schmidt, the Dark Passenger Killer, I think this is another one of just his long list of fake identities. This goes up there with Kyle Butler and Daryl Tucker and
right.
Patrick Bateman.
But that's another thing that's going to be interesting is like these aren't just any other serial killers. This is Peter Dinklage and like Emma Thurman and
world-renowned.
Yeah, right. So like they're not just going to be like one-off like
these are not Joe these are not Joe Goldbergs. They could all be big bads of their own season.
Right.
But I think too where the dilemma comes in is he will definitely end up befriending Kristen Ritter's character, the Lady Vengeance Killer, and maybe end up telling her a little more than he should, which I wonder, like a lot of people, myself included originally, were like, oh, what if she ends up being, Dexter's new love interest, that sort of thing. I think it would be very interesting if they flip everything and she ends up being the big bad of the season.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Hot take. I don't need any more love interest for Dexter. I am good. I I didn't need it. I guess like I didn't need any at all for Dexter. Like after Rita, I would have been perfectly fine. I was like, well, and like one more maybe eventually, but I think the amount he's had for me is too much. We're on what, love interest 6 or 7? Like we've had an absurd amount.
I still am holding on to my theory that Hannah's still alive and she'll come back.
And I'd be okay with that. But like I don't need a love interest every season, which we've done for the last we had one for season 5, and then we did another one for season 6 and 7. We took a break, a season break, and we had one for 8.
And then the same one for 7, 8, and then one for New Blood.
In season was it 8? We had 2 love interests in season 8 with the like neighbor and on top of Hannah, right?
Oh yeah,
and New Blood had one. Like I don't need. I'm good. Like I'm good for at least a couple more seasons. Like he can
just wait till you get to Original Sin.
What? Well, you know what? That actually makes sense though, because there was the whole thing of like, well, you have to pretend like, you have to pretend like you're not into it, right? Yeah. So, shortcut. Don't get us started. I'm not even mentioning Deb. but you know what though? She was not like Deb was never a Dexter love interest. He was a love interest for her. She was not a love interest for him.
Yes. Yes.
Let's go through a couple more comments here before we move on. Let me go all the way up here. You never know, James could have survived. He could have gone out of the door. You know what? Technically, I guess they could. But why wouldn't he shown up sooner? That's the question.
Yeah.
I will say, going back to New Blood for like
no. There's no way Dokes is still alive because they found his body. They found his body parts, dude. They found his body parts. If you are going to the books, though, he did survive in the books and he became kind of like a cyborg. Again, unfortunately, weird stuff. But
I did think for a second in New Blood, I was wondering if he was really Harrison. I know this is like slightly off topic, but there was a part of me that's like someone that knows who's been after Dexter sent in someone who like maybe kind of looks like Harrison as like this undercover agent that was like getting information and there's like, we got you, motherfucker, and they all come out and like, you're under arrest, Dexter Morgan, for the murder of blah 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 blah, the Bay Harbor butcher. I was like, it made kind of sense. Like that'd be probably the best way to get him. Is some like some undercover person, Already answered this one. I understand. Oh, we already wrote that one too. Sorry. Would you guys like to see Lumen again at some point in the show? Because I think it would be an interesting character. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I know you ended up really liking.
I love Lumen. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like her as well. I think she was a much better character than a lot of people give her credit for. Yeah. But I feel like her story was very much so wrapped up. Like I don't need to see her.
I don't need to. I'm down though. I'm.
But like, it would be interesting. It would be interesting.
Yeah, because it seems like she kind of went off and did her. Like it was like I'm done with killing, and hopefully went on to live a normal life. So, I wouldn't want them to bring her back and be like she's been killing all these years and she like regressed after Dexter. Like I wouldn't want any of that. I would just want like, hey, she lived a good life, and that's a little cameo or something. Maybe like series finale or something where it's like, you saved my life, Dexter. Like this is the good that you've done for the world, kind of thing. Like he's like reflecting upon all the things he's done in his life, kind of thing.
Right.
I'm really excited about Batista. I always wanted a Dexter versus Miami Metro storyline, and this seems like a version of that. 100%. Yeah. Totally. It does make me nervous. I don't know if I already mentioned this. I feel like I kind of got sidetracked. I am nervous about the longevity of it though, because like, where does it go? Right? Like, okay, like what are all the options? It's like one, Dexter or something happens to him and he dies. And I do not want that. Right? Like that is
we've literally ended now 2 shows with Dexter dying. I think
No. I mean Angel. I'm saying like something happens and Angel dies and that's why he's not on his trail anymore, right?
Yeah. There's usually how he takes care of things, but I think again, Dexter's different now. I don't think he would let that happen. Well, obviously he wouldn't let that happen, but Batista maybe gets too in over his head, gets caught up in all this serial killer nonsense and gets himself killed. I would hate that.
I would again, yes.
I don't like the idea of characters coming back just to die. Like
Angel is the like one character, like anyone else can come back and die, and I'd be like, all right, like like if Quinn came back and died, I could be like, okay, I can kind of see that making sense for him. Angel is one I think needs to live.
Yeah,
I think ultimately it should be him to bring him in at like the very end of the show. It should be him like having that victory, and I'm a little afraid doing this season 1 of this new show. Also, I don't like that. I don't like him going the like Deb approach either of being like, well, I'm kind of helping you out, and like I'm kind of seeing the way. Like I don't think that's Angel at all. Like I don't think there's any word where he can do that. Especially what he's done.
It'd be tough. You're right, and in order to preserve the integrity of the character, you can't have him accept Dexter in the end, especially because of what he's done, what he's lied about, what he's hidden. I don't want him to die either, because
that's what I'm saying.
Then that's just another innocent body in Dexter's camp of even if he didn't pull the trigger, so to speak, that's still another innocent that Dexter let die.
I don't think I could watch him as a protagonist if Angel dies by Dexter's hand
unless it's just like unless like somehow he's just continually like one step behind Dexter, but then that makes him seem incompetent, right? Is like he's about to catch him and is like, oh nope, not this time. See you later, Batista. Like that's not gonna happen either. Like he is a wild card, right? Because I don't necessarily know what a satisfying ending would be outside of them finally having a conversation with everything out on the table. Dexter trying to explain to Batista what he did, why he did it, why he kept it from him.
Yeah.
But Batista can never forgive him.
No.
He can never forgive him for...
After Maria? Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
And after Deb, he loved Deb as like a daughter, right? Like there's no world.
Yeah, it just...
Again, like
that's I don't know. That's where I'm drawing a blank right now, as far as like I have great theory as to like the main quote unquote plot of the season, but as far as our subplot here with Batista versus Dexter, I don't know how they wrap it up.
I don't know if I would like this either. Like I guess maybe, but like
no.
Not long term.
Not
like
at all.
Again, like this would be better if it was like a final season, right? Because I think you could end it being like he finally got Dexter and he's the one that took him in. Like that is like I think a good ending to like I think the show has to end, in my opinion, with Dexter going to jail. Like Dexter finally getting caught. I think it's how it has to end.
Maybe
if it ever ends.
Maybe, but like I don't know. Like, or would a satisfying ending for you be again? They lay everything out on the table. But it's all kind of like circumstantial hearsay. Batista legally can't prosecute Dexter for any of this stuff. And also, too, okay, maybe it ties into my theory, right? Is he tells him everything, but my hands are clean. I'm a CI now. I'm working for the NYPD.
He literally can't.
You legally cannot do anything.
Yeah.
And Batista's like, well, crap. I figured it out. I've got my eye on you. You pull any funny business, and I will be on the first flight back to New York.
Yeah, it has to be something where it's like I physically cannot get you in here. Like, I even thought about like, is there a blackmail thing where it's like if you do this, I'll hurt your daughter or something? But it's like that's not Dexter. Like you can't. Like that doesn't work for me either.
Yeah, I think that's maybe your only way out.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe your only way out, again, outside of killing him, which I have such a problem with bringing back a beloved fan favorite character just to kill them. Like that's the big problem with big problem with the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. Again, it's not a stream if I don't bring up Star Wars. But like, what do you do? Force Awakens. Let's bring back Han Solo. Yep, and let's kill him. Episode 8, let's bring back Luke and let's kill him. Episode 9, obviously real life circumstances led to this one, but yeah, let's bring back Leia one more time and kill her too. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah. Agreed. Sherry says I don't really want to talk about the love interest stuff. Me too. I'm on critical stuff right now, and I'm trying my hardest
to not think about that.
There's certain scenes I'm looking at, and I'm like,
you can't not think about it. There's slight undertones in the whole.
It's like, what is she thinking about? On these various moments.
Yeah.
Keyblade said I forgot to say earlier. Today's my mom's birthday. She turns 58. Well, happy birthday!
Happy birthday to your mom, Jeffrey. Yeah.
Yes, I hope she had a fantastic day, and a happy New Year. Just let's move on. Dark Passenger nickname is also Red Dexter. Will say he is Red. There's a episode titled called "Call Me Red." Is that like a book thing?
I don't know. So I had always thought that the "Call Me Red" was in reference to Lady Vengeance. I don't know why. But that could make sense. I didn't look too I saw the episode titles. I didn't look too far into it. I don't want to know too much too soon. Again, but that's an interesting idea. Again, I think that there's a lot of nuance to Dexter's involvement with Prater and the other serial killers and all of that. And again, I think that they're setting up Peter Dinklage like, okay, he's the big bad of the season.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
I think you have also some of these guys we're going to meet, and I don't think that they're going to make it very long. Like, they're setting up for those not in the know, like, oh, this Dark Passenger killer is, the big bad of the season. Like, think about going into this having not seen any of the trailers.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty hard to do so.
Right.
But think about in another 10 years. Somebody's like, go watch Dexter. Like, there's 10 seasons of Dexter Resurrection now, too.
Yeah.
So you go back, you watch through everything, you get to these episodes. Like, you're not even thinking, you don't even know about the serial killer Avengers yet. Right? So.
Okay, we have all those big names right now.
Yes.
Without knowing any of them so far, because we haven't seen them yet.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give any of those guys a spinoff without knowing who they are yet, who would it be? Do you get like Peter Dinklage? Do you get Kristen Stewart? Do you get Neil Patrick Harris? Do you get
Uma
Thurman?
I think you give Uma Thurman's character the spinoff. And obviously we've seen the most of her, but I think that would be probably the coolest.
Sure. I'm gonna say Kristen Ritter.
Okay.
I'm gonna say her. Only if we can't get Jessica Jones season 4.
She's in Daredevil Born Again season 2.
Yeah, I'm like, but she feels like the most like realistic one that like she's a big actress obviously, but she's not like Peter Dinklage and like Neil Patrick Harris level of famous. I feel like so. It's like
I feel like Neil Patrick Harris is gonna die in like his first episode. Like I feel like that's just like kind of the thing. Like that would happen, right? I think Neil Patrick Harris's character. I think David Desmalchin's character. I think very much so on the chopping block, like immediately. Because those are the kinds of characters that they play.
Yeah, I feel. You know what though? I'll say this. I'm gonna say it right now. I don't think David is the main villain. I'm sorry. Not David. Not David.
Peter Dinklage.
I don't think Peter's
the neither do I. It's too obvious. Yeah.
I think it might be. I don't know.
Well, the other side too that I'm thinking of, if maybe Dexter infiltrates them not as a CI for the NYPD, but what if they end up finding out about Harrison? And want Harrison to join their crew.
Yeah, that's gonna be a thing.
But Dexter takes the spot and is like, no, you stay as far away from my son as possible.
Okay. I'm gonna cast my vote now. I think the villain, and I want to hear your like official take on which one you think it is. I'm gonna just call it. I think it's the guy from Modern Family. I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I think like that he feels like maybe maybe he's like the nice one from throughout the season. The one's like, oh, come on, it's okay. Like I'm a killer, but I'm kind of a nice one. He's secretly the like
he gives off Trinity vibes.
Yeah, I think it's either him or Christian Stewart. I think those are.
I think it's Kristen Ritter's character. I think
I'm sorry, Christian Ritter.
Yeah, I think Lady Vengeance. I think is the main villain because like, also think about it. We haven't really properly done a good female villain.
Oh
like,
yeah,
Lila technically.
Yeah,
like Lila's the only female villain. But like even technically in a lot of ways, Dokes was also the villain of that season.
Yeah, I feel like Christian Lillard. That's our name. Christian
Ritter.
Is that her name? Yeah, Ritter. Like I feel like she always plays very interesting characters because she's not. She's never like. She doesn't only play villains, but she's also never like these great morally characters, right? Like just like Jessica Jones.
We got a little bit of ambiguity.
Breaking Bad, she's like a junkie, right? So it's like she's not like she's a good character, she's love interest, but she's not like a great person, right? So it's like that'd be interesting to see her play like a full-on villain. I think she could do it very well if that's her direction.
100%.
Just continuing to go down these comments. Still talking Dexter, definitely a Dexter shame. Hell yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
Surprise,
motherfucker. Lee Goodwin said Masuka is coming back too, from what I heard. I don't think that's
again. So the actor posted something on his story that was like some semi cryptic, could just be like promotion for Resurrection, like, oh hey, this show is out with my former castmates, go watch it. But also it could be teasing him popping up. Like again, we've had the actor who plays Brian tease that he's going to be in this show. We've had now Quinn tease that he's going to be back. Possible tease from Masuka that he's going to be back.
Yeah,
I think all of these characters are definitely in the possibility column to come back. And if they don't show up in this season for whatever reason, I think enough fan out or like enough fan want for these characters to come back. And if it lines up with their schedules, like I think we'll eventually, again, if this show goes on 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, I think you see Rita pop up. I think you see Deb pop up. I think it's so easy to explain why these people, right? And it's so easy to explain why these people are coming back.
I will say, like, I think out of everyone, I do think Masuka is the hardest, right? Because he's not a cop, right? He's not going to be showing up and you're like, all right, Dexter, what's going on? Like he, like you said, he's probably married at this point. He has a daughter. He loved Dexter, but there's this kind of separation.
He's probably still LFI, lead forensic investigator.
Yeah, and especially since Dexter left, like he's probably paid a pretty penny. He's probably the lead. So I want to see him again, but I want it also to make sense. Like I think him just showing up in New York wouldn't. Like I feel like Dexter would almost have to come to him.
Yes. Again, which I think is great, because if they do pay off that tease from New Blood, that Masuka's having a wedding, man. And then we go back to Miami, like that'd be pretty fun.
That would be pretty. Yeah, like again, like one of the guests is this,
I think I'm calling it now. I think we see Miami this season.
This season, interesting.
I think we see Miami this season.
I would. Do you think there's at any point we fully move back to Miami, like away from New York?
I don't think we fully move back to Miami, but I think that this could be a traveling show. I don't necessarily see it anchoring itself in New York for every season.
Yeah.
I would actually like them to change scenery every season. I think that would be fun. Just like take a page from Yu's book, right?
Yeah.
You did a different city every season until they came back to New York for the final season.
I kind of don't love that though, because like that is that like limited series modern thing that kind of is like, it's motif. Like what I love about Dexter is like,
right, as he's just
there's that formula, and it's like like each season you have to introduce this new cast of characters, where I would prefer one cast of characters that I can learn to love over like 8 seasons kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think like realistically it makes sense, and you can have a new dynamic every season. But yeah, it is a little.
But I mean, how would he though? How would he go about going back to Miami? Like, yes, Dexter is now.
Miami wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
How would he go back to a place where he was a active serial killer for 8 years, or 20 years? Actually, go back to Original Sin. Like, he was an active serial killer.
No one knows, right? Like.
No, like they think that he like I don't even know, but he was an active serial killer there forever with a lot of like public coverage. Again, going back to he has a whole podcast on him.
Yeah.
Again, and I love that because that voiceover of her saying the Bay Harbor Butcher is used in like every single Dexter edit as well. Yeah. But yeah, like, what do you expect him to do? Go back to Miami? Go back to the Miami Metro? And go back to forensics? Like, it would. I almost feel like again, Dexter's kind of evolved past that. Like, as much as I miss
it
that
too.
aspect of the show, I almost think. What if Dexter became a detective? Like, I know you kind of said something like, Dexter's really good at being or Lance said it is like, Dexter's actually really good at being a detective. Like, he maybe is. And again, I think that route of him being a CI, that's so full circle, because where did this all start? With his mother being Harry's CI.
Yeah. And also that's kind of his whole thing, like he has to like hunt down these people and be like, all right, what's your thing,
Right. So how can he do it? How can he do it legally? I think is maybe what we end up doing is how does Dexter continue to take out people who fit the code, but do it without running the risk of abandoning his son ever again.
Right.
Ending up behind bars.
And like weirdly enough, like I was thinking about this for like these episodes. It's like an Uber driver is kind of the perfect job for him, because maybe not taxi, but like Uber would be perfect because it's like you're not struck to like a 9 to 5. It's like you pick up
and
when
he can use it, and he can use it to his advantage to hunt
down people.
Yeah.
Like it's not a bad profession for him. I was like, because like with the whole thing is like he's like in the middle of a case. It's like, hey, you have to get in here right now.
Yeah.
And he had way more leniency than he probably ever should.
I can just imagine Dexter being like, all right, dude, ride's over. I gotta kill a killer to catch.
Just pushes him out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'm curious about that. Let's wrap up these last couple comments because we are heading at that 3-hour mark, and we gotta go.
Yeah.
Was there any? Oh, okay. This last one. To be fair, it was obvious Kurt was the main villain, and you look sure. But I think when you have such a big cast of characters like this, you have that like Knives Out effect where it's like, oh, who is it? Who's it going to be? And I think you don't want it to be the most obvious one. Although Peter Dinklage plays an incredible villain, so it could be him. My final thought, I would say though, is like I also really, really enjoy his new like Uber friend that he's made that he's living with. I love this guy. That like a character like that is kind of what I was missing in New Blood. I feel like there wasn't these like very like they were good characters, but like none that like really stuck out.
Like I mean, well, he's got a new friend that like immediately kind of attached to him he gives off the same vibes as Brother Sam. I feel like is somebody who doesn't really care about his past and is just like, all I care about is the here and the now. And I can see that you're a decent person and I want to, and he's just like helping him. And I think it shows
Angel.
Yeah.
I think.
And it shows Dexter too, that there's good in the world. Like there are people here worth protecting. Right.
Yeah. Like each season there's like this kind of like better than everyone else character. Like the original, it's Angel. Last season was Logan. I feel like thought he was the like standout character, and now it feels like it's this guy. I haven't learned his name yet, but I will.
Blessing.
Oh, well, that's a nice name.
Yeah.
Angel and Blessing. Is that
interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Huh, I didn't even make that connection.
Is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you want to bring up?
I think we pretty much covered everything outside of, again, I think really they did such a great job with Harrison this season. I like him so much more. I'm very interested to again see where he goes, and they're making it seem like the cops are already going to find out what he did. But I think Dexter to the rescue. He's going to find some way to cover for his son, and I do like the idea of Dexter kind of playing cleanup behind him.
Agreed.
And just like, all right, let's get the little blood off the ceiling. Let's make sure you tidied up properly, that sort of thing. And just make sure he's good from afar without fully taking over. But it will be interesting to see what that interaction is when they finally reunite, and how that's going to affect Harrison to be like, oh wow, I actually didn't kill my dad, but then he's like, oh shoot, like I killed this other dude, that was actually my first kill. Like this crime of passion and rage, and yes, I was trying to protect this woman, but like I was very messy with that kill.
Yeah, and also like I'll say, like, normally I'm on Harry's side with like almost everything. Like it's normally Dexter's in wrong and Harry is like, that was the reason. This time I'm kind of like via Dexter. Like I kind of think he's in the right for like staying back. Like I think eventually he's going to need him, but I think it's healthy to be like, okay,
let's give him some
let him
give him some space.
And if he needs me to step in,
I'll jump in.
So obviously that's going to backfire. Like it's obviously very creepy. Be like, wait, you've been stalking me for weeks? you fucking suck, Dad.
Well, no, and also like you're alive and you didn't tell me again. Like we're going down that path again.
You're right.
I think that's
that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Can be
but dude, overall, man,
let's start.
Dexter Resurrection, 10 out of 10. We got 8 more weeks of insanity ahead of us, and I'm in for the ride. In a couple weeks, there's Comic-Con as well, dude. So we'll have another special Dexter edition of the stream where we get to talk about all the Comic-Con announcements.
Any chance we get another show announced?
I don't even know what it would be at this point. I think we're okay. I'm
good with 3. I think 3 is the limit.
Actually, no. Unless they announce a Brian Moser prequel, that's. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, is there anyone else I would possibly, like, I think if there is, it would have to be, like, maybe Harrison someday, not right now, but someday Harrison, maybe, and then maybe if I love any of these characters enough, I might be trying to pitch a new show.
Oh, final question. Now that you've seen Dexter and You, do you think that You had a better ending or that Dexter had a better ending if we're looking just at the core show? So Dexter season 8, You season 5.
Oh, You.
Interesting.
100%. Like You at least finished. Like they at least did something. Dexter didn't do anything.
Okay.
But I like New Blood's ending more than Prime.
Okay.
That makes sense. Like
I get it.
New Blood versus main You.
Okay.
I will say, I've seen, 9 seasons? It will be 10 seasons of Dexter after. This is season 10.
Yeah.
I like every season of Dexter more than any season of You.
Me too.
Okay,
I think,
cool.
Yeah. Dexter's like, the superior serial killer, the superior character, the superior show.
Like, I'll take season 6 of Dexter over You.
You scratches that itch when you don't have Dexter.
Yeah.
But it's Dexter's.
Okay, wait, one last question, and I watched the first episode of Original Zen just so I can ask this question.
Okay.
How would you rank the 4 Dexter series premieres we've had so far?
Ooh.
The first episode of every new show we've had.
Okay. You gotta put, I would say, the original series as number 1.
I agree.
Because
that's
iconic open. Yeah. Tonight's the night. Like, I think original series, and then Resurrection, Original Sin, New Blood.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going original series, Resurrection. Yeah, I agree. I'm actually going to put New Blood at number 3.
Okay.
Just because I actually do think that's a fantastic pilot. Like I think like
it is
with the deer and like that like purifying who he is and him like keep running out and like almost shooting it. It's like no, I can't get back in, and like everything. Like I thought that was all brilliant. And then for Original Sin, not because I dislike it, but I just think it's probably like it's good. It's really really good. I'm liking it actually a lot. I could see it being my favorite spinoff, but I think it's just like the less neat pilot that we've had. Like it's a very fun episode, but I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, peak cinema kind of thing. It's
interesting because again, there's a lot of like animosity, I would say would be the best term for Original Sin. Like I feel like a lot of people are very just like indifferent to the show. They're like, this doesn't need to be. They're like, oh, this doesn't really need to be here. It doesn't really tell me anything new. But I think it's fun. But I think it's fun though. I think it's just a fun addition to the universe.
It's like Dexterverse. It's such a good pitch though. Like out of like any show I've seen, a Dexter prequel makes so much sense in the context of like everything of like, oh yeah, there was an entire like 10-year long timeline. That is also
that's a really good detail.
I was blown away. I was like, oh, that's good. And like I think that's why most of like episode 1 I was like, there's something missing.
Right. It felt quiet. It was very quiet until that happened, which is so cool. So cool.
Yeah. And you know, and also with Original Sin, it's also like technically a story we've seen before. We're just seeing it from a different lens, I guess, right?
Yes.
Because we saw that entire thing with a different cast in which, you know, looking back at that scene, it's probably very hard to rewatch that scene now with the like very bad Dexter wig that he's wearing and stuff like that, you know. But no, that would be my 4. And I'm excited to see where the rest of the season takes us. I think it's gonna be a fun couple weeks. Taz, what you working on? Where can people find you? What you got cooking up? What you got on your side of the tank?
Yeah, youtube.com/toxictaz. Of course, my Dexter Resurrection episodes 1 and 2 breakdown review theories will be the next piece of content going up. My plan is to literally record that right after we get off stream here.
Heck yeah.
I'm going to kind of expand a little bit on some of my theories and some of my thoughts on these episodes, go a little bit more in depth and talk about anything that we might have missed here. And then my plan is to have weekly Dexter content, whether that just be clipping parts of the stream, putting out little theory videos, that sort of thing. I want to have regular coverage, so please keep me honest on that this season. But yeah, I want to continue to cover Dexter as much as I can because I'm really loving it, and it feels like classic Arrowverse. youtube.com/toxictaz.
It does. It feels. I think this entire journey has kind of felt very. In just the way like the classic TV has been. Like each season there's a new villain and you know new cast and
you know, blah, blah,
I
love the formula.
It feels very classic to me. Yeah, for sure. What do we got going on? I mean next week after the credits, I don't even know. Like it might just be Dexter for the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to think like what else the rest of July. There? There's not a lot. I think
because again, in a couple of weeks, it's going to be the Dexter episode plus the Comic-Con panel.
Like next week, obviously we're gonna do episode 3. I'm going to go through Original Sin, although I have a feeling maybe I won't have as much to say on that one. It seems like
so we can talk about that too. Yeah.
Since I've been watching Dexter, I've been kind of falling behind on some of my other shows, so. In coming weeks, I want to try and get caught up on some 2025 shows I missed. There's a new Walking Dead season I want to talk about. The Bear, I still have not talked about. I need
to watch The Bear. Yeah. So you got all the way through Dexter. The least I could do is get through The Bear.
I think I'll give you maybe 2 weeks to just be like, all right, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how you're doing. It's a pretty short show. If you're into it, I feel like you could get through it pretty quickly if that's something you're interested in. That's coming eventually. I'll keep y'all posted on what the heck we're doing in terms of content on this specific show. It might just be a Dexter podcast for the next.
It really might be. And then eventually, I'm gonna get to see Superman again. Dexter had to take precedent. Editing the Ironheart video had to take precedent too. But got that all out of the way.
Yes.
Dexter until the end of time at this point. But Superman stuff, Fantastic Four stuff too. I'm sure we'll cover a little bit once I again get my butt out there and actually see these movies.
Absolutely. Speaking of Superman, Pipeline this Thursday, joined by my good friend Edward Connor, we are going to be doing our full-on Superman review. Holy crap, it's here. I can't believe my next stream is on Superman's crazy timeline that we are living in. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, I will see you folks on the flip side.